Hello and welcome everybody to the Beat Ryan Rufe RotoWire Online Championship draft. He is Ryan Rufe. 11 people whose names are hidden on the draft board here will be trying to beat Ryan Rufe. I'm Erik Halterman here, just along for the ride to host things and ask Ryan what he's thinking about as he makes his pick. And Ryan, what are you thinking about now with under 3 minutes left before the draft? You got pick 11. Was that something you wanted, or was that something you were stuck with?
No, I was stuck with it. I went straight butter 1 through 12 for my KDS settings, and yeah, I mean it's I don't know, little nerves because it's my first fast draft of the year. I've done all slow drafts up until this point, all draft and hold league, so it's my first fab league where there's in-season pickups, first fast draft, right on the turn, pick 11, as you said. So not an ideal spot for me, but got somewhat of a plan, and we'll see what happens. There may be a lot of pivoting based on who's available in the first couple of rounds, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Pretty decent track record in the RotoWire Online Championship. Finished 10th overall a couple years ago. Definitely want to be one of the ones from RotoWire to take down the namesake draft at the NFBC. So that would be so cool.
Yeah, for sure. How did last year's Beat Ryan Rufe draft?
Yeah, I won that league last year. I think it was a top 200 team-ish overall, but yeah, it went well. It was kind of a struggle from the start, but some good fab moves. I think I picked up Nick Kurtz along the way, and that certainly helped. So, but yeah, nice. This draft's going to be interesting because again, it's the first draft where there's a timer, and I haven't done any fast drafts yet this year, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Did you drop the link to this live stream in the draft chat so anybody else who's drafting alongside you can find out who you're going to pick right before you pick them, or anybody who wants to hang out in the chat here with us?
It's a good call. I will do that now.
We'll try to balance being informative and not giving away all of your picks right before they happen. But I am curious, do you at this point have a plan for what you want to do at the 1-2 turn? Are you already thinking, if not specific players, I want to get one starter, I want to get no starters, I want to make sure I get two guys with speed, I want to get one guy with huge power? Are you thinking about anything like that as the draft is about to get underway here?
Yeah, I mean, I have a plan. I won't give it away right now, but we'll shortly after we start, we'll see if it comes to fruition or not. But there's a few guys I'd like to see available pick 11, but these are so unpredictable, and I myself like to jump ADP in these types of drafts, just because it's there's so many moves you can make throughout the year. The replacement level value you can find in the waiver wire is so much higher than the 15-team league. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it to get started. No real surprises there with the first couple picks, Ohtani and Judge.
Yep. Shohei Ohtani and then Aaron Judge. I hope you weren't planning on them falling to 11. It was never going to happen. They are both off the board. I'm curious to see when the first pitchers go. Just in general, you mentioned the replacement level's higher in these 12s versus 15s. Does that affect the starting pitchers? Does that affect the closers? Does that affect specialists like speed? What are some of the main effects there?
Yeah, for me in particular, because I follow closers all season long and I'm pretty tied in, for me, it's there's always going to be closers available on the waiver wire, throughout the year. I'm a pretty frequent speculator throughout the year when it comes to that. So I probably won't be drafting the Mason Millers or Edwin Diaz's of the world in this particular draft. But we'll see depending on where they are at and where they're planning on going, because I do have them very highly ranked. So
we had a question in the chat here. Do closers even matter? Don't say that in front of Ryan. Closers matter quite a lot. And of course, Always. This is a league with an overall component, so everything matters. You can maybe be 70th percentile in saves if you're 90th percentile in some of the others, but you got to be above average pretty much everywhere. But for you, if you are somebody who is pretty confident you're going to find some saves on the waiver wire, you can probably leave this draft with 1.5 closers or something like that. We've got Bobby Witt Jr., Ronald Acuna going 4th, and Juan Soto going 5th. So whoever's picking 4th here is not a coward. They're willing to take a guy whose knees give out every couple years. That means Jose Ramirez fall all the way to the 6th pick here. Nothing too unusual, but still yet to see that first starter. Decent chance at least one of the big three is available at the turn for you, and probably multiple. We'll see if you end up with one of those guys. I know you said you've got your plan already, but I won't press you on which of those pitchers, if any, you're going to take just yet. We'll ask after you make both of your picks here. Yes, Joe, in the comments here, this is a 12-team mixed Roto League, the RotoWire Online Championship. We've got, there's the first starter there. Tarek Skubal goes at pick 7, and then Julio Rodriguez at pick 8. So who are the top few by ADP still left in this round?
According to ADP, it's going to be Paul Skeens, Garrett Crochet, and then really no one else until beginning of round 3, where you have Christopher Sanchez, Yamamoto, kind of kicking off that round, at least in terms of ADP. So.
All right, we just saw Ellie De La Cruz go at pick 9, and there's Paul Skeens. So Ryan's first pick. Talk us through it. Who you got?
Yeah, so this pretty much went according to plan. I'm taking Garrett Crochet.
All right.
I'd like to have a strong pitching foundation in this type of format. Starters, when I was talking about the replacement level in terms of, the talent on the waiver wire being a little bit better, than what you'd see in a deeper team, deeper league. But, in this format, I just think it's important to have just a strong ace foundation. So Crochet was my plan. I had, if he wasn't there, I was thinking maybe Ellie or J-Rod would be there at pick 11. And, it just kind of worked out with the way I was hoping it would. So
were you thinking you'd take any of the starters that fell, or are you a Crochet over Skeens, for example, if Crochet had gone? Or maybe you don't have time to answer this because the turn is happening here. But you are? Okay, same here. For the wins?
Yep.
Well, that answers Scott's question here. Where would you guys take Crochet? Right there, or maybe 1 or 2 picks earlier. We'll see. Kyle Tucker was the 12th pick by ADP over the course of the entire RotoWire Online Championship. We would have seen Corbin Carroll right around there. Curious to see where exactly he goes, whether that's at the turn, whether that's to you, or whether that's a good deal later in this second round. There's Gunnar Henderson. So back to Ryan. Who is your round 2 pick?
Corbin Carroll. You gave it away.
Oh wow.
Yeah, where reports are saying he'll be ready by or close to opening day. So I think at pick 14, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's just power, speed, tons of runs, decent average. I think it's a very well-rounded profile to get it at pick 14. So.
Yeah, I like that pick. It's right around the earliest bit where I would be taking him. I think a week or so ago would have taken probably Jackson Churio if I wanted a power speed outfielder. But now, like you mentioned, the news does seem to be pretty good on Corbin Carroll. And we know the timelines for a hamate bone, right? We know generally what happens. It's not likely to be one of those injuries where he runs into complications and this turns into a 3-month absence, etc. The thing you're worried about, of course, would be if his power is sapped from the injury. But I feel like with Corbin Carroll, if he's ending up on first instead of second or home, he's going to make up for it with a bunch of steals, right? So I think it's hard to see a world where Corbin Carroll is just useless or anywhere close to useless after this injury.
Yeah, exactly.
Although we do have PJ in the chat here saying, I can't imagine taking the risk on a hamate guy in the first 4 rounds. But again, I think you're going to get the steals if you don't get the power. I think that's how that goes. So you have 1 ace and 1 5-category guy. Was that the plan going in? You hope to have a 5-category guy and a pitcher?
Yeah, so I kind of map things out. I look at the nice ADP board that the NFBC has, feature on their website. Pull ADP for the last week or so, online championship. So I pulled from February 22nd through today. Covers 9 drafts, and just pull up the board just to see kind of just do a quick map out of who I want, who are my targets in each of the rounds. Compare it to kind of my rankings where I have them. I do I aggregate projections, do an SGP. I tweak with the kind of plate appearances and innings pitched. Once I produce the SGP rankings, and then just kind of go from there to see who's a value and who isn't. There may be some players I jump ahead of where I have them. I'm not married to my SGP rankings or anything. So I'm not. It's not like a strict guide for me or anything, but it's a good guide that'll at least tell me in this format, who's theoretically a value and who's theoretically not. So.
All right, we've got some interesting questions in here. Timmy asked, anyone drafted so far you're particularly low on? And I'm going to combine that with this question here from Mitchell, who says, do you guys like Alonso or Kurtz more? Because Nick Kurtz just went with the 6th pick of round 2. The picks that have gone after Corbin Carroll, Junior Caminero, Fernando Tatis, Cal Raleigh, Nick Kurtz, Kyle Schwarber, and Jazz Chisholm. There's been a lot of movement, I feel like, on Nick Kurtz lately. At the start of draft season, he was ahead of Vlad Jr., and it looks like in this draft he is as well. But recently you're seeing him go as late as the 3rd first baseman. If you were picking a few picks later in the middle of the round 2, would you have looked at a Nick Kurtz?
I think in this format, I would. I think in a 15-teamer draft and hold league, I would lean Alonso just because the track record of consistent performances there. But in a league like this where, there's a big you kind of have to swing for the fences, to place highly in the overall. And I think Nick Kurtz is kind of one of those ultimate boom bust players. And I don't think he's necessarily going to bust at all. I just don't know if, some of the numbers and there's some of the chatter on social media lately surrounding Kurtz is, certainly eyebrow raising. So, but I think it's close between them, and they both give you very similar profiles. So
there's that run of all-in power bats that went all in a row there. Cal Raleigh, Nick Kurtz, and Kyle Schwarber. Does definitely affect your team build if you're going that unbalanced that early, but they can certainly help you quite a lot in power, which is something that's harder to get later in the draft. Are you open to Cal Raleigh in the 2nd round in other builds?
Yeah, he was part of my backup options for round 2 if Carroll wasn't there. So yeah, I think I'd be open to it. Yeah, I've approached other drafts before where I've taken Raleigh in round 2 and in a 15-teamer. So yeah, I certainly would have considered it here.
All right, we're moving pretty quickly. We're now into the early 3rd round, wrapping up the 2nd round picks. After Jazz Chisholm, it was Vlad Jr., then Jackson Chourio. Yoshinobu Yamamoto does go ahead of Christopher Sanchez, who goes as the 1st pick of round 3, right after Pete Alonso. I like that Witt Chourio start. 2 guys who are still in the right part of their careers, who can give you something in all 5 categories. And any other pairings you like, let me know in the chat too, if there's any teams that you would love to start out with their first 2 or 3 picks. But the one that stands out to me is that Witt Chourio pairing.
Yeah, for me, it's Team 4 and Team 6. I really like the Acuna Vlad combination, and then the Team 6 J Ram, Jose Ramirez, and Kyle Schwarber pairing. Really like Team 8 as well, going with the Mariners teammates of Julio Rodriguez, Cal Raleigh. I think that's really nice.
Do you recognize any of the drafters? Is Team 8 a Mariners fan?
I don't know anyone in this draft, actually.
Wow.
It's one of those. I'm sure I've drafted. I think there's a couple names I recognize, kind of, but most of them I don't think I've drafted with before. So
All
Could be
right. Well,
wrong.
again, if any of your fellow drafters are listening, let us know in the comments. We'd love to check in on your team as well. We now have Francisco Lindor, the other hamate injury, going in the early third round. I assume if you were open to taking Corbin Carroll, you'd be open to taking Francisco Lindor where he goes as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And now we have Hunter Brown as the fifth starter off the board. Would imagine we're probably going to see a run of starters in this round, and you might be able to avoid it since you already got your ace, right?
Yeah, I mean, looking at ADP, the ADP board by the NFBC, I mean, it's about half. It's about 4 starters, 2 closers this round, and then 6 hitters. So it's about 50-50 in terms of pitching, hitting. Where starters really start to fly off the board is round 4. There's quite a bit of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5 starters, few closers, round 4. So we'll see if that actually pans out, because there's just I think it kind of makes sense in terms of like the hitters that are available. There's just some question marks around some of the guys, like end of round 3, end of this round, who actually just went Pete Crow Armstrong.
Right. Speaking of question marks,
a lot of question marks there. Wyatt Langford, can he stay healthy? We'll see. James Wood, another kind of question mark. He's fairly solid, but also got some high strikeouts totals on his ledger thus far. So
yeah, that PCA team also drafted Jazz Chisholm in round 2 to go with Juan Soto in round 1. If they get the good version of Jazz and the good version of PCA, that's a pretty dangerous start, but some real question marks certainly. In a league with an overall component like this, do you dial up the risk a little bit? Do you dial it down a little bit just because everybody's good and these cost them real money and you don't want to just blow everything up in April? What direction do you go?
Yeah, I mean, I'm willing to take some risks in this type format. I just think, yeah, and there goes Zach Neto off the board, and also Trey Turner to teams 6 and 8 respectively. Again, both teams really looking strong to start. Those were 2 guys I didn't think. I was looking at recent ADP of the last week, and none of them really, neither of those 2 or Lindor kind of fell to pick 35 where I'm picking this round. So didn't really expect to get any of those 3, but if any of them fell, they would be pretty much a easy pick for me.
All right, we've got a couple more picks till you're up here. After PCA, it was Turner, James Wood, and Zach Neto. And now we got Bryce Harper. You're up in 2 picks. Curious which direction you're going to go with those 2. If it were me, I'd probably be hoping to get 2 hitters. At least if I was me and also you, and therefore had your closer expertise and knew that I didn't need to get the closers now, I'd probably be looking at 2 hitters or 1 hitter and a closer here. You don't have to give anything away for another 30 seconds or so here, but with the balanced start you had with a starter and a 5 category guy, I think you're really open to take whoever you want here. So who's it going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Brian Wu. Really like what he did. Just solid whip foundation, pair with Crochet, a high strikeout guy. Love the ratios there. So I think he's one of my highest values on my sheet relative to where he's going ADP wise. So
is that ahead of his teammate Logan Gilbert? Is that true?
Yep.
I guess they are going right next to each other in
ADP, right
so
next to each
that's
other,
not too unusual. And I assume since you picked him, you're not particularly worried about the injury problems, which have been persistent but never quite all that bad. We've got a second
Uncle
closer
Ted says
going
risk
up
it for the
turn
biscuit
here.
with Wu, and
yeah,
I agree. It's just same. Yeah, I mean, you could say the same for Crochet. I mean, Crochet really had a strong season last year, but I mean, he had very similar injury concerns, and people are confidently taking him in the top of the draft. So,
all right, you're coming back for round 4. Who you got? I'm guessing a hitter. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, so this one's tough. I'm actually gonna not go hitter. I think I'm gonna go
Oh,
another starter here and
wow.
take Wu's teammate. Possibly possibly his teammate. Yeah, I mean it's difficult because there's such good players on the board this early. It's tough to pass on some of these guys, But yeah, I'm gonna take Logan Gilbert.
All right, so I'm not being a very good prognosticator here, predicting you go with a couple hitters. You went the exact opposite. It's a little unusual, right? I think in a 12-teamer, people often are a little bit more likely to wait on their starters, but certainly you don't have to. What was the thinking behind going 3 starters this early?
Yeah, I think it comes down to like really, for me, just the way I like to approach my starters is get very strong guys that I have very little decisions I have to make throughout the year when it comes to the matchups and streaming. So Jaron Duran just went off the board, pick 40, and that's a bummer because he's really high on my list. I love him this year. And that guy also took Bryce Harper, who I would have considered in round 3 as well, like a few picks before me. So yeah, team 9.
Jaron Duran, that's quite early. I'm looking at his over the last week. He's been going in the 6-7 turn in the online championship.
I actually have him 25th overall.
Oh wow!
Ranking, so
somebody with some very diverse spread of opinions there, Jaron Duran, which makes some sense. You either view him as a 5-category stud coming off a down year, or as somebody who could be at risk of losing some playing time, even in a very crowded Boston outfield. So if you're right on that one, team 9 off to a pretty good start. Team 9, they're going with 4 hitters: Ellie De La Cruz, Fernando Tatis Jr., Bryce Harper, and Jaron Duran. We have seen a good handful of closers go now. It was Mason Miller with the 4th pick of round 3, and then Yohan Duran at the 3-4 turn, and then Edwin Diaz and Cade Smith. You recently wrote up your latest reliever rankings about a week or so ago. How close to your order is that top 4 there? Miller, Duran, Diaz, and Smith.
I have Miller, Smith, Diaz, or Miller, Smith, Diaz as my 1, 2, 3, and then I have a closer who has not been picked yet as my number 4 closer. So, I mean, it's my rankings are published, so RotoWire subscribers certainly know who that is, but.
Yeah, any listeners can use promo code YouTube15, get 15% off a RotoWire subscription. And hey, if you're in this draft, do it now, and you can see Ryan's closer board. Steal whoever that guy is. You're not a Yohan Duran guy then.
No, he's in my top 5.
Okay,
I think I have him 4th or 5th actually. And I'd be totally comfortable having him as my closer, my first closer. It's just where he's going is not, I just prefer the starters there. And
right. Yeah, the opportunity cost with these early closers is always so high. And if you do trust yourself to get the mid-tier or even waiver wire closers, you can really have a leg up on everybody else because you can have a Logan Gilbert on your team while everybody else is drafting a 15th round starter instead. We had a question here asking for a little bit more clarification on why you like Jaron Duran. All I said was that people go different ways on him. So what's the reason why you have him ranked well ahead of the market?
Yeah, it comes down to, I think he's a little underprojected in terms of plate appearances. Should certainly approach 650, 700 plate appearances this season, and still batting in the top of the Red Sox lineup. They've got him, I think they've announced that they want Roman Anthony to lead off, which would put Duran batting 3rd. We are talking about Jaron Duran, not Yohan Duran, right?
I think so, because he was the one you liked. Because
okay, yeah, perfect.
I'm assuming questions about.
So yeah, Jefferson. If you're
let
talking
me
about
know
the other one, I can certainly provide opinion there. But but yeah, I think he's pulling the ball a lot more this spring. He's had 3 home runs in the span of 2 days, last couple days. So I really like what I'm seeing from Duran this spring, and I think if he's hitting third, he's gonna pile up a lot more RBIs than he's had in the past. So
true. Andres Munoz just went. Was that the last closer in your top 5? I'm guessing.
Yeah, Munoz, and then Duran 6th.
Yeah, I'd be pretty happy with any of those guys, but also not all that willing to pay the price. Some interesting values just going at the end of this 4th round here. Chris Sale was the 9th pick of the 4th round. I've seen him go even ahead of Yoshinobu Yamamoto on occasion, so that could be a nice pick for Team 4 there. Also a nice value for Team 3 with the 10th pick of round 4. Ketel Marte usually goes middle of the 3rd round. So some guys are falling.
Someone I considered with the 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
He was certainly a value, with the 35th pick, theoretical value based on where, it was picking there. But I wanted to, I did plan going in for the 3-starter approach. It's something that's worked for me in the past in this format. And I just think, that's just where I'm more comfortable drafting. So.
Yeah, there was a question about that from PJ. So are you somebody who comes into drafts with pretty clear plans then? How deep would you say you plan it? Do you go 8-10 rounds deep, or are you really only looking at the first few?
I guess we'll see.
All right. We'll find out. The rest of that 4th round there, after Sale and Marte, we had Andres Munoz, Hunter Green, and then Brent Rooker starts the 5th round, and Roman Anthony. That's right about where Roman Anthony goes. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was maybe a value. When you have somebody like Team 9 in your league who's not afraid to jump players up multiple rounds, you're going to have some values fall to you. Are you somebody who likes to take those? It sounds like you come in with a plan, which might mean it's harder to pivot and say, wow, this guy's 10 spots later than he should have gone. I guess I'll take him then.
Yeah, I think part of my pre-planning, when I'm mapping things out is looking at ADP and seeing, how far ahead I want to take a player and whether they'd still be, theoretically a value at that point, at that spot versus what their ADP has been. So, it's there's a lot of planning involved with that. And to ensure kind of your plan goes to plan, kind of have to you're playing, you have to map things out in a way where you're jumping some guys in some cases. So I did have that with Jarren Duran actually on my draft mapping. I had him for this round actually, even though his ADP over the last week is beginning of round 7, 74.2 ADP over the last week. So definitely have to pivot now.
Right.
Since he's
you can never plan too specifically in a fantasy draft, and of course that's a good part of the fun of it. Certainly. Right. The rest of this round 5 so far, after Rooker and Anthony, we got Rafael Devers, Mookie Betts. Now we finally see Jacob deGrom and Max Fried come off the board. Is that a value on deGrom? Only by a few spots. Would you take Jacob deGrom this year? He's been healthy for over a season, so he's good, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly consider it. Yeah.
Oh wow, Ben Rice just went to the same team who had Cal Raleigh, so catcher just done for Team 8. Do you think that's worth doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see an issue with it at all. To be honest, it's yeah, I mean, that's right in line with where Rice has been going over the past week in this format. So yeah, not really a surprise that he went there, and I like the, double tapping the catchers there.
Yeah, as long as you don't have to reach for it, it can certainly be nice to just not have to worry about catcher the rest of the way. I mean, I know we've got a pretty deep catcher pool these days, and in a league where only 24 catchers are drafted, you could wait if you wanted, but I don't think it's bad.
I really like his team, actually. It's a really nice start, team
Yep.
8. So
Julio, Raleigh, Zach Neto, Cade Smith, and Ben Rice. All right, we're back to Ryan for your 5th pick. Going to go with your SP4 here? I doubt it, but I was very wrong last time.
I'm actually going to take a catcher here myself. I'm going to lean...
a Langolier or a Contreras?
I'm not doing this on purpose, but I'm not going to take either of those guys. I'm going to take Hunter Goodman.
All right.
Just so you know,
a few spots behind them. That's you're not jumping him crazy, but
yeah. I think it's just comes down to the power. William Contreras certainly a fine pick there as well, if I wanted to go that route. But
well, I should keep predicting things because every single thing I'm saying is wrong so far. We'll see if I ever get anything right about your team. We've got your 6th pickup now after Josh Naylor and Devin Williams. Going back with another hitter for the balance?
This one's tough because this is where it like really opens up for me. Like I had a very definitive plan in terms of who I wanted the first 4 rounds, and now it's just like, oh, I don't know. I think I'm gonna lean. I'm gonna go with third baseman I like here, Maikel Garcia. He's another one of those guys similar to Jarren Duran, and here at pick 62, he's not quite. This is kind of where I'm not really following my SGP rankings. He comes in a little bit lower. But third base as a position, historically you don't really get speed from the spot. I really like that about Garcia. Also, just a solid overall profile. I think he's gonna hit well high in the Royals lineup. I think Bobby Wood's gonna lead off. I don't know whether I think he hit 4th most of last season. So nice RBIs, plenty of runs, decent pop. Has stole close to 40 bags before. 2024 he had 37. So we'll see if the home runs remain there. But
well, the fence is coming in, right? That could get him a little bit more power too. I've liked Maikel Garcia for years. It's always a little bit dicey when there's somebody you liked as a sleeper and now all of a sudden he goes in the 6th round. Do I still like him? But I'm pretty sure I do. He's a very good, well-rounded player. And I agree with what you said about third base. So the 2 positions that are the weakest are probably second base and third, but with second, it just flattens out so much late in the draft, right? You're not going to miss out and not get a second baseman. There's so many guys who are okay, right? Your Bryson Stott type second baseman, and third base you actually could get kind of stuck. So if you are going to push somebody up, it does make sense, I think, to push up a third baseman like that. But now that we have some time before your next pick, I do want to go into your Hunter Goodman pick a little bit more because I don't think too many people are going to have him that high. Would you have taken him even over Ben Rice, or would you go Raleigh, Rice, Goodman?
I actually have Langoliers a little spot ahead of Goodman in my rankings. Just kind of a diversification of profile for me. I have a lot of Langoliers already this year. I just don't want to be too overexposed to Langoliers. So this is really just, I don't have much Goodman because I've been taking Langoliers in the spots where Goodman goes. So yeah, this is just a diversification here, and
so you have them basically close to time.
Yeah, they're very, very, very close.
But do you have Ben Rice ahead of them even after the fact that the Yankees have now added Paul Goldschmidt, so it no longer looks like Ben Rice is going to get 650 PAs?
I don't. I have Rice a little bit behind Langoliers and Goodman.
And Contreras also a little bit behind them as well, it looks like. So it's a really strong top 5 at catcher, and Shea Langoliers still out there, so whoever gets him is going to get him at a nice little value. Some other picks we've seen in this round after you went Garcia, it was William Contreras, then Logan Webb as Team 9's first pitcher, Freddie Peralta as Team 8's ace, They've got Cade Smith already, Freddie Freeman, then Riley Green, and then Aroldis Chapman. So with that 7 closers down, and there goes Shea Langolier to team 4. Anybody who's following along in the chat, I'm really curious to know which team you think is winning so far, other than Ryan's, of course. Ryan, are there any teams that are still standing out to you with their early builds?
Yeah, I still really like Team 8 a lot. Just trying to look here. Yeah, I don't really follow other teams too closely while I'm drafting because I'm just trying to set up for the next couple of rounds. I want to see
certainly
who's there and, think about who I should be picking. But I've been just from the first 5 or so rounds and talking about it. I really like what Team 8's doing a lot.
Yeah. That's the Julio, Cal Raleigh, Zach Neto, Cade Smith, Ben Rice, and Freddie Peralta. So if you want Ryan to like your team, draft a bunch of catchers and a bunch of Mariners, apparently. There's David Bednar going to team 3. So we're almost out of the top 12 closers. And we'll see if there's one left for you at the 7-8 turn if you want one. There goes George Kirby as well. Yeah, Gary here says you need to focus on your build. That is true. Let me do the looking at everybody else's team for you. That's why we have 2 people on this.
Gary, what team are you? You said you were in the draft. I think I saw that earlier.
Yeah, unless he was talking to the person who's doing the draft right after you, but Gary is team 6. Have we trashed Gary's team already?
No,
I hope not. Oh, no, we did like that one. Yeah. Good. This is the Jose Ramirez, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, Wyatt Langford, Max Fried, and Riley Green team.
Yeah, that's really nice too.
Yeah. Got some well-rounded players and some huge power. I think in a 12-teamer, I would be comfortable enough with 1 starter and 5 hitters. I think in a 15-teamer, I'd be a little worried, but I think in a 12-teamer, I think that's just fine. We've got a fan of Team 5 here. With that power and speed, that was the Juan Soto, Jazz Chisholm PCA team. They have added Matt Olson, Jacob deGrom, and Aroldis Chapman. We have another fan of Team 8 as well. We're now into the early 7th round. It was a pair of shortstops on the 6-7 turn, CJ Abrams and Geraldo Perdomo, and then another catcher, Drake Baldwin, who I guess we probably should have mentioned when we were discussing all those other catchers. He's not far behind the rest of them. Again, a really strong year for catchers. You don't have to get the early catchers, but also there's a lot of good catchers early, so could take it in either direction.
Drake Baldwin a lot. I think just lots to like there. High average floor. I think he had 19 home runs last year. I think he's got the 30 home run upside. Great lineup. So
yeah, it's a nice really balanced start, I'd say, for team 2 with a
power and
really Judge, good. And then you got some youth in Anthony. You've got a catcher out of the way. You've got a closer out of the way. You got 2 starters as well.
Team 1 is really. I really like Team 1 as well. Lots of home runs and the first 3 hitters. Strong
Tony Alonso and
foundation, Sanchez and Green.
Yeah. So. Of course, if you've been drafting 15-teamers for most of the offseason, most of these 12-teamers are going to look really good.
Yeah, this is weird because I've done mostly 15s thus far, and this is my first 12 of the season, and it's wild. I'm looking at some of these rounds like, whoa, this is an adjustment.
Yeah. We have a comment here that double tapping those shortstops at the turn is interesting. How do you feel about getting your second guy in an infield spot this early? Would you try hard not to, or would you be pretty much on best player available still to this point in the draft?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't think it's super egregious or anything to do that. So
yeah, fair enough. I think it's maybe a tiebreaker probably, but nothing more. We've had Joe Ryan here and Dylan Cease. Joe Ryan questions about his health right now, but is not falling very far, and the questions might not be that strong.
Yeah, he's interesting. It's tough. It's tough for me because I love Joe Ryan. He's could challenge to be, talent-wise, be a top 5 pitcher in this league. It's just, that injury. I was wondering where he was going to go in this draft, and don't know.
Yeah, we got Jeremy Pena and Vinny Pasquantino here. We got a comment from Timmy in the chat here saying with Wu and Gilbert back-to-back, you should hammer some Mariners futures. Might as well double down on your OC team here. If the Mariners do well, you'll probably do well. Those long Mariners homestands when you're getting multiple starts in Seattle from both of those guys, your team's going to rise up the standings during those weeks, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's such a strong team. I really like the Mariners. I was actually, the AL pennant race last year between those two teams was incredible. I loved that series, and you got a feel for Mariners fans who fell short. But
yeah, I was on a plane for that. What was it, a 14-inning game? How long did it go? I don't remember. I was watching on the guy next to me's phone, and then he got bored and turned it off. So I missed the end. Terrible. Make sure to never fly during the playoffs again. We had Byron Buxton and Jesus Luzardo up here. Real quick, because you're picking in a couple, are you willing to pay the Byron Buxton price coming off of his healthiest season in a while, or are you going to let somebody else do it?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I haven't done it yet. I've done a lot of drafts thus far, mostly drafting holes, but this type of format where there's fab and in-season pickups I was definitely eyeing Buxton. So.
All right, well, not high enough to get him. We have Seiya Suzuki going a couple picks before you, too. You're up in 2 here, and you've got 3 starters and 3 hitters. A good base of power and speed. You got a catcher already. If it were me, I might be looking at a closer around now, but I know that you've talked about the fact that you might not need one. Tyler Soderstrom off the board. Now it's to you, and there is a closer. Daniel Palencia. A target of yours, or just the best closer available when you needed to grab a closer?
Yeah, he was a target I had, kind of planned for this round. He's my 8th ranked closer this season. I had been projected for 31 saves, so I'll talk about him more in a second. I got to figure out where I'm going to go with this next pick.
All right, it was Kyle Bradish right after you. That is actually a pretty cheap price on Kyle Bradish, about 10 to 12 spots lower than he's been going in the past week. Randy Arozarena now back to Ryan for round 8. Who you got?
Yeah, Arozarena was one where I was considering with this pick, so it's a good pick. I think I'm going to close out my catchers here and take one of them, trying to decide who I want.
Copying the double catcher team here. Is it going to be Agustin
I'm going to go
Ramirez, Will Smith?
I think I'm going to go Salvador Perez just because he's got a little bit more power upside, and I want to be cognizant of power in these early rounds because it's harder to find leaders. So
yeah, that seems to be a growing idea. I've heard more and more people talk about in recent seasons. Is probably right since the rules changed, which created a whole lot more steals. That's probably the reason for it. Is there's speed available late, and there's some power available late, but there's not a ton. So I do like biasing towards the power early. I like that Salvador Perez pick too. I think he's somebody who is coming at too much of a discount this year because his surface numbers weren't good. He hit 236, but the expected batting average 269, right in line with what it was the last several seasons. I'm not seeing any actual signs of decline for Salvador Perez, so I like that one there a lot. Right after you, we've got a Cody Bellinger and a Yuri Perez. So let's hear a little bit more about Daniel Palencia. And as Jeff Erickson has mentioned in the chat, you and Jeff were on MLB Network Radio yesterday doing the reliever preview. You've shared your pro Palencia takes before, so break it down a little bit more. This guy's really good, but then he didn't close late last season after an injury, but you're quite confident.
Yeah, I mean, he was just, Craig Counsell just named him the closer in the last couple of weeks. And it comes down, as I was talking with Jeff about it, it comes down to, he picked up 22 saves last year in the relievers who would challenge him for the closer role, that being Phil Matan and, gosh, I'm blanking off the top of my head right now. Phil Matan and Hunter Harvey. Harvey's durability issues, I can't ignore. Talent is certainly there. Definitely could close if he was healthy for a full season, but we've historically seen Hunter Harvey struggle to stay healthy. And between Matan and Harvey, they have 21 saves in their career combined. Palencia just 22 last year as a rookie, essentially. So
Palencia is actually the guy with closer experience despite his youth. Yeah, that's interesting.
So, and Cubs are going to be good. They're going to win a ton of games. So I think the 30 plus saves is certainly within reach, and it's just staying healthy, right?
Yeah, I like the pitcher a lot, and if they say that he's going to be the closer, I believe him. I think he's very talented. I was watching some of the Cubs playoff games at Wrigley last year when he was coming in the 5th inning as a shutdown reliever in a key spot, but they were still playing his closer intro music and all that. So it seems pretty clear like the Cubs view him as a key piece going forward for sure. There was a question here. PJ would have considered Jeff Hoffman or Pete Fairbanks. You've already told us why you like Palencia, but were either of those two a close second?
Yeah, Hoffman was. They have him essentially ranked very similarly. If Palencia 8th, Hoffman 10th, with David Bednar sandwiched between them. So I would have been happy with Hoffman as well. Fairbanks, I just don't trust the health. I know he was healthy last year. This year, I think he's missed an average of like 65 games per season over the past 4 or 5 years before last season. So I just don't trust the health. Certainly when healthy, he will close for Miami, but he's only on a 1-year deal. He'll be probably highly sought after at the trade deadline if Miami's out of it. But they're an up and coming team. I mean, they could be a team where they just kind of hold on to their guys through the deadlines. Right. They got the new manager there from last year, Clayton McCullough, and I think they had like 79 wins last year. So I like kind of up and up with that team, but I'm targeting other Miami relievers later.
Right. Just knowing
more so in draft, probably not in the online championship format, but more so in draft and whole leagues.
Makes sense to me. I'm glad to hear you say positive things about Hoffman because I keep ending up with him as one of my closers. Not really all that intentionally, but I was less worried about the noise around him than others. And so if you're not that worried either, he just went at the end of round 8. Just going over the rest of round 8 after your Sal Perez. It was Cody Bellinger, Yuri Perez, George Springer, Framber Valdez, Carlos Estevez, Michael Busch, Nick Pivetta, O'Neill Cruz, Nolan McLean, Jeff Hoffman, and now Agustin Ramirez starts round 9. Carlos Estevez, a reliever as well, snuck in there ahead of Jeff Hoffman. He just scares me. I know that he had a ton of steals last year, but I would be a ton of saves. Interesting. I doubt he'll have many steals this year, but just doesn't miss bats. And now the fences are coming in. I'm just scared of Carlos Estevez.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super, the way he pitches, it's just a nice profile for that park. Kauffman Stadium was toughest on left-handed power over the past couple of years. And being a fly ball pitcher with Estevez, it just kind of fit the dimensions of that park, just kind of fit how he pitched. So truly was a surprise that he led the league.
Right? So a little scary.
Yeah. Truly surprising that he led the league in saves last year.
Yeah.
I do not expect that to happen again.
Although the guy who drafted him, Team 6, is in our chat here, so maybe we should say very positive things about him. We've got Eugenio Suarez here going to Team 2 with a second pick. of round 9. Another power bat there, who also had Nolan McLean in the last round. Are you a Nolan McLean guy? The price is very high, but the talent's pretty high as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested. I don't have much of him, so but yeah, it's certainly one I'd like to see perform well this year. So
he'll be off at the WBC. Excited to see if he gets a start against one of the better teams. If we get a Nolan McLean in the quarterfinals or something. The fact that he's got that spot alongside your Skeens and Scoobles, there's a lot of faith in him, certainly. Bo Bichette here, going with the third pick of round 9, followed by Ryan Helsley, another closer here. Is that a particularly late Ryan Helsley? I think so.
So for this format, yeah, maybe about a round and a half from where he's been going the past week or so in this format. So I wouldn't mind that. Yeah, I mean, I had him queued up, so I wouldn't mind that pick here. So
Tyler Glasnow going here. Is that an early-ish Tyler Glasnow? By a round, maybe. And there's Emilio Pagan. So everybody grabbing closers here. An Esteves Pagan pairing. People starting to grab their second closers. But if you are a closer expert, maybe you can wait on your second closer. Curious to see if you'll be considering one at this next turn or not. You've got 4 hitters, you've got 3 starters, and you've got 1 closer. So still starter heavy compared to most teams, but not by a lot at this point. But when you start heavy towards either pitchers or hitters, you tend to want to slam the other side for, 6 of your next 7 picks or something, usually, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we've seen me guess wrong about all your picks, but this would be a time where I would guess you're going with a pair of hitters, but we'll see. Spencer Strider here in this round, and I think we're kind of seeing why you might want to go starter heavy early on, because there's some pitchers going in this part of the draft who might work out. Your Tyler Glasnows, your Spencer Striders, but the floor on some of these guys is just quite low, even compared to the hitters who go in this range.
Yeah, Strider's. I love the pitcher. I love what he can do. I really do hope he comes back to ace status this season, because he's just so fun to watch when he's on top of his game. It's tough to click his name. I like the pairing with Scooble and Framber there for Team 7. I think that's a nice little approach.
Yeah, if you are going to take a risk like that. Oh, wow. Speaking of take a risk, you've got one Zach Wheeler. I am yet again wrong. It is not a pair of hitters. It's your SP4. Man, Zach Wheeler has an SP4. Pretty talented. Who are you going to go with here in round 10?
I'm not sure. I think I'm going to lean... Oh, man, this is tough because there's a player I want. Let me just see. Let me look at the ADP board and see where...
Yeah, these decisions are tough when you're at the end and there's a full 20 picks before your next one.
I just know, like, some guys aren't going to make it back, so... I think the smart pick is probably to take a hitter. So I'm going to lean one with big power upside, Joe Adele.
Ooh, all right. I like it. So not going 2 hitters. What was the thinking there? Was this just Zach Wheeler is such a value to you, or were you really hoping to get your 4th starter in round 9 despite getting 3 of them in the first 4?
Yeah, I had planned for a starter in this round, primarily, but yeah, it would have depended on, like, Bo Bichette would have been somebody I would have taken if he would have fell in that round. O'Neal Cruz was somebody I was considering, where I took Sal Perez and if you're high on Cruz or it's possible he could have fell to me in round 9, but just looking at his ADP in the last week, yeah, I mean his max was 108, so I probably wouldn't have gotten him now that I'm looking at it, but I picked in that round was 107, but yeah, I had this round 9 pegged for a starter, just because I do like to be starter heavy, and I think Wheeler, possibly being back early April, he's throwing bullpens. I mean, this is a guy who's top 30 pick, past several seasons. I mean, if he misses a couple starts,
top 20.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and I think that if I was going to take the chance on Zach Wheeler, doing it with the team that already has some starters who I very much trust is probably the way to do it. I mean, if you're one of those teams that waits on pitching and then you say, well, Zach Wheeler might be an ace. Well, if he's not, then you still don't have your fantasy ace. Whereas with the build you've got, let's say Zach Wheeler suffers some setbacks and then comes back and has an ERA of 6. Well, you're probably okay. You're still going to have one of the better pitching staffs in the league, I would imagine. So I think from a team build perspective, I do like that. And we did just have a pretty positive note on Zach Wheeler just a couple days ago, titled Early April Return Possible. So there's a world in which you get 30 starts from Zach Wheeler still, right?
Yeah, I'd probably put it at 28, maybe 26, but yeah, I mean, you're still hoping for elite ratios. I don't expect him to be kind of at the level he's been at the past couple of years. I mean, he was on an NL Cy Young pace last year before he got hurt, so I'd expect him to take a step back there, but.
And this is the good kind of thoracic outlet syndrome, or the slightly less terrifying kind, right? Venous thoracic outlet syndrome. I should have remembered what the other kind was before I started that sentence, but I don't think this is the one that derailed Matt Harvey's career, for example. If you are willing to be optimistic about pitchers who are currently injured, there's a lot has gone in the right direction with Wheeler, right? It was bad news, but ever since the injury, the news has been about as good as you wanted.
Yeah, and I have a lot of Wheeler this year in my draft and hold. So and I think in this format again, like my SP4, I think just makes a ton of sense to go with him in this format. So
yeah, I think that makes some sense. I have not managed to do it. I think this is, as a Phillies fan, I don't want to get busted twice, right? I don't want him to ruin the Phillies season and my fantasy season. I've been overly negative about him, but good to see you picking him there. Some more picks in this round 10. We did finally see Pete Fairbanks, Michael King, Nico Horner, Luis Robert, Cam Schlittler, Blake Snell, and now Michael Harris. Curious to ask again in the chat, now that we're almost through the 10th round, who has the best first 10 picks outside of Ryan here? Do we still have the same favorites? Team 5, Team 6, Team 8 in there? And we got a question for you, Ryan, or maybe for me, but I'm going to say it's for you, from Jefferson here. Now that we're past pick 100, who are some of your favorite SP, your favorite starter values or targets between picks 50 and 100? This was the range of starters that in this draft you basically ignored. Were there a few that you would have been targeting if you had gone more hitter heavy early? I think you may be muted. I think you're muted, Ryan. I don't know what happened there.
Thanks. Sorry about that.
All good. Yeah. So who are some of those targets that you'd be looking at?
Yeah. So I think, in this particular draft, I really like where Logan Webb, Freddie Peralta went in round 6. Dylan Cease and Jesus Luzardo were targets of mine for round 7 as part of my draft plan there, where I took Palencia. I think those are kind of no-brainers. High K upside. I love the potential of Cease in Toronto. And he's just so consistent. I mean, 200 plus strikeouts in the last 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, I think those four are certainly ones I'd be comfortable with as a SP1 or SP2 if I decided to go hitter heavy in this draft.
Yeah, I like a lot of those names. I think Luzardo and Cease would be guys that I'd be targeting in that round. I think Luzardo, somebody who the ERA estimators liked a lot better than the ERA because it was really just 2 starts where he was tipping pitches. I believe he gave up a full quarter of his earned runs in a 2-start stretch. It was 20 earned runs in those 2 starts, and he gave up 80 for the year. I think that's what the math was. I think he's set for a very good season if you trust the durability, which hasn't really been there other than last year. And Cease is just one of those guys that you want to buy coming off his down years. The ratios aren't always there, and I was wrong last year and picked him at an elevated price, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be off him this year. I do like Kyle Bradish as well, but so does everybody. The price is very real for Kyle Bradish, and we have seen word that there's going to be some sort of innings limit on him, so maybe if that brings the price back down a little bit, I'll actually end up with him, but I would certainly hope that I can get him at least a little bit. There's questions about Blake Snell in this range, not even throwing off a mound right now. I don't think I would mess with that. Obviously, the upside's high, but the Dodgers don't need Blake Snell to be good until October. So I just any currently injured Dodger scares me even more than a currently injured player on another team, just because they can afford a different level of management, right?
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I mean, the talent's certainly there. Multiple times Cy Young Award winner. It's just the health is just so unreliable. So
yeah, we have some Sheehan and Schlittler love in this range as well. I know James Anderson in particular has been a big Emmett Sheehan fan for a while. I would like those guys. The price is real on all of them, but I think I'd be willing to pay it sometimes. But again, you got to avoid all of these pitchers who might be good just by getting your starters out of the way early. We've got a few picks into round 11 now. Wrapping out round 10, it was Altuve, Josh Hader, and Andy Pajes. And then we had Alex Bregman, Luke Keyshaw, Yainer Diaz, and Christian Yelich. Now we have Trevor McGill. There's 2 relievers I want to ask you about, Ryan. Josh Hader, who might not be healthy, and Trevor McGill, who might not be healthy and might be a setup man. Would you be comfortable taking either of these guys?
it was McGill and who? Well, Hader.
It was Josh Hader at the end of round 10, and then Trevor McGill in the middle of round 11. I'm scared to take either of them.
Yeah. It's tough to click their name right now. I haven't taken McGill yet this year. I think this type of format, where there's fab, it would be one where I'd be more comfortable taking him at a certain price, but I don't have him, in the top 125 where he just went. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love Hader too. I mean, he was my number 1 closer last year. Again, there's always kind of a price for a closer, but when you're talking about shoulder issues and forearm issues, it's yeah, I don't know. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, fair enough. If you ended up with him, do you have to take the backup plan, I wonder, Brian Abreu, or take an Abner Uribe? But then you're investing 2 picks on at most 1 closer pretty early. It's a little tough. All right, we've got just 1 more pick before your 11th rounder here. We've seen Gavin Williams, Kevin Gausman, Yandy Diaz, and Ceddanne Rafaela. So you're looking at a team that could pick a whole lot of different players, pretty much anything but a catcher. And again, if it were me, I probably wouldn't be getting another starting pitcher here, but I think we've seen that you're willing to go with a pretty rotation-heavy build as well. So I would imagine starters are still in play. You have in your infield only a third baseman.
Yikes. Thanks for reminding me. I have to address that.
Yeah. There goes Willy Adames, so you're not getting him at shortstop. Who are you getting instead?
all that Emmett Sheehan,
another pitcher. All
talk,
right.
I was like, everybody shut up about Emmett Sheehan because they love that dude. So honestly, my round 9 pick, where I took Zach Wheeler, I was deciding between Wheeler and Sheehan. So yeah, I think, you know, the fact that Sheehan lasted 2 rounds later, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, even though I'm very starter heavy.
Yeah. Well, you're up again for round 12. I'm guessing not a starter, but again, I've been wrong every time so far. So
yeah, I think it's time I should probably take a hitter or two. I don't know. Let me see. Where am I at? Do I do it? Do I not? Yeah, you know what? This is the type of format where you gamble. So here we go. Connor Griffin.
Ooh, Connor Griffin. All right. Wow. What was the min pick on him? That I think somebody's taking him inside the top 100. You grabbed him there at 134. That's got to be ahead of ADP, right?
Yeah, his ADP is 156 in the last week. Min pick of 105. Max pick of 199. So yeah, I mean, I could have potentially waited until the next round to grab him, but
what's your projected debut date for Connor Griffin? Opening day, if you're the one who picks him, I imagine.
I think it'll be. I mean, the Pirates really don't have any reason to hold him down. I mean, they're trying to be competitive, and I think I forget who posted the article, but very compelling arguments for starting Griffin in the big leagues. And Teoscar just went off the board. He was the other person I was considering with that last pick. But yeah, I think they have Skeens for only so many years. They went out and signed a bunch of free agents this off season. It's I think it's the messaging that they're saying is, we want to be competitive. I think the division is certainly one where it could be up for grabs. I mean, it's always historically pretty close in the NL Central, right? So, yeah, I mean, I think Griffin's upside is supremely high. He could also be a huge bust at this pick, which I'm okay with.
He might debut in July. I mean, if he's not up on opening day, you're basically committing to holding him. However long it takes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I mean, unless gets hurt for an extended period of time, I'm just gonna hold him. So roster spots are so valuable in this league. So after taking him, I'm probably not gonna take too much risk. With the rest of my hitters, I'll probably, since I'm started so strong in pitching, I'm probably gonna take more hitters from my bench. Than pitchers. Historically, I like to be more pitcher heavy so I can stream the matchups, but because I'm building a starting rotation where I shouldn't have to make tough decisions, theoretically.
Right. If by default I have 5 starters on my bench or something, and I'm playing the best 7 of the 12 I have, but if you have a ton of really reliable starters, you can definitely feel free to not play it that way. As you mentioned, the messaging around Connor Griffin. Part of the messaging, of course, was the manager saying it would be a tough ask for him to make the opening day roster. Are you saying that's basically just talk, trying to motivate him, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I know he had the big day where he hit 2 home runs in the spring training game, and they were behemoth shots, but he's also pretty much struggled in the other games. So, it just comes down to, I don't have actually any Connor Griffin yet this year. And it's just one where it's just like, I should probably have at least one share of them. So,
right. Might as well get him in the Beat Ryan Rufe League. Put your name behind him, literally. I would imagine you're probably going to have to make sure you get another starter another shortstop who's at least definitely going to play, but there's plenty of time for that. Right after Connor Griffin pick, we saw Jacob Mizorowski which means Mizorowski went a few picks after Sheehan, a couple rounds after Schlittler, 3 rounds after Burns, to the same team, actually. 4 rounds after Nolan McLean. I've been viewing those young pitchers as pretty similar. I mean, I have preferences among them, but to see them spread out that much, if Mizorowski's going to go 5 rounds later than Nolan McLean, I'll take that.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that.
It's an interesting pick there. Then we had Teoscar, we had Brandon Woodruff, Ryan Pepio, Noelvi Marte, Jose Caballero. That Caballero team had some speed already in Jazz Chisholm and PCA. Not sure if that's the team I would have drafted Caballero on, but I don't think that range of the draft is that bad. Jacob Marcy, Kenley Jansen, Nick Lodolo. Is Kenley Jansen a closer, Ryan?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a couple saves away from third on the all-time list, and then he's pretty close to 500 career saves too. So I think maybe probably 60-65% of the saves in Detroit. I mean, I think that's what I have him projected for, 60%. And Detroit's got certainly capable options to close behind him, and Will Vest and Kyle Finnegan. So,
all right. So there are still some real closers left, but I think, as you said at the start, as somebody who feels pretty confident in their ability to grab late closers, I'm not surprised that you've only got one. You're going to have some work to do, though, late in the draft or on the wire. Question here. Do you think prices are about to change a lot with the WBC games? That's an interesting question. I would imagine anybody has a particularly notable performance, everybody starts paying attention. People are going to pay attention more to a WBC performance than a random spring training performance. What do you do about players going to the WBC? I know some people just don't want to draft any of them because they're scared, or certainly of the pitchers. Do you put much weight into that?
Not too much, honestly. I should probably consider it a little bit more, but I know some of the big, stars. I think Skeens or Skubal only going to pitch once or twice in the WBC, so it's not like they're pitching 50 innings or anything like that. So, at this point, it's just basically another kind of spring outing, maybe a little bit longer than they normally go at this early in spring training. But, I don't take too much stock into it, to be honest.
Yeah, we have Eric Gialdi here with a good point. Casey Moose saying that prices should already have the WBC baked in, which really matters just for pitchers. I think that's true if we're talking about what should happen. But there's another question is what will happen if, say, Okamoto or Murakami has an outstanding tournament and all of a sudden everybody knows their name in a way that they didn't, a few months ago. I could see it having an effect, even if maybe it shouldn't. Early round 13 here, Ranger Suarez, or I guess we're supposed to call him Ron Hare Suarez now. Kyle Stowers, Andrew Rasmussen. Kyle Stowers going, is that at a discount based on his recent injury worries, or is that full price?
Who's that?
Kyle Stowers.
Maybe. I probably wouldn't. I was just reading some of the comments in the chat. Robert Schroeder says Team 11's not good. Maybe my least favorite.
Is that
nice?
Is that a good troll job, or is that somebody who just doesn't know that you're Team 11 and has a perfect comment there? I don't know. Here's one WBC related comment I think I agree with from PJ. WBC could really boost Sandy Alcantara if he looks good. I think somebody like that who, yes, didn't look good in their first year back from injury, if we see 1 or 2 good starts against a real opponent, I could see that maybe mattering. Sonny Gray, Samuel Basayo, Lawrence Butler off the board here.
Yeah, like Rasmussen, Gray, Suarez, all great targets.
Yep.
Right here. Is
solid, reliable.
Ron Hare Suarez, is that like a real thing? Like the pronunciation of his first name?
Ron Hare, yeah. I mean, a G. is a H sound in Spanish, but he just let everybody call him Ranger for his whole time in Philly, and then he showed up in his press conference in Boston, and
so weird.
Yeah, I think that the Philly announcers said, "Yeah, we knew that it was actually Ron Hare, but he told us it was fine to call him Ranger, so we did." Something like that.
That's funny.
We got Dansby Swanson, Brandon Nimmo, and Griffin Jacks. So we're down to guys who are maybe committee leads or maybe closers in Griffin Jacks. Treya Savage, now back to you, Ryan, for pick 13. Who is it?
That's going to be Taylor Ward, just for the power.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're going with a power-heavy start to your hitters for sure, but you got Carroll.
Snipe.
Carroll and Garcia.
I was going to take Dansby Swanson in this round.
I thought you were about to say you were going to take Treya Savage or yet another starter.
Yeah, he was also in this queue of picks for me, so kind of a bummer.
Well, Sandy Alcantara and Robbie Ray at the turn. Back to you. Who you got?
I think I'm going to actually take who I think is the Brewers closer, Abner Uribe.
All right. You do have your closer too. And yeah, if Abner Uribe was named as the Brewers closer tomorrow, where would he go in your closer rankings? Like 6th or 7th? I mean, he's incredibly talented.
Yeah, I'd probably put him right where I have Palencia. Yeah, where 8th, right behind the Aroldis Chapman there. I don't think I'd put him ahead of Chapman, just based on the remarkable season he had last year. But I think he would go right to 8th with Palencia, Bednar, Hoffman.
And as of right now, you had just have him straight up ahead of McGill.
In my rankings, I don't, but because I had McGill projected, I think, for a few more saves. But that was before the news of the offseason PRP injection. So I think I'm going to flip him around a little bit. So,
yeah, my best guess for that situation is that McGill gets the first chance to close and then proves that he can't. And that's why I've kind of avoided both of them, is I don't want to be in a position where I'm sitting on Uribe knowing that I think he's about to close, but not knowing how long I can afford to hold on to him. But he is so talented that there's going to be weeks where you could run 7 starters, Uribe the setup man, and 1 closer. I mean, it's not ideal, but if that's what happens for the first month of the season, he still could end up paying off his value, certainly at that pick.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, if he's, if we go 3 weeks into the season and he's doesn't have a save chance, then it's, do I cut him? Possibly.
Right. We did have the pushback here that what if the Brewers don't want to build up his arbitration value? That's a factor, fair. And it's probably more of a factor in Milwaukee than other places.
Yeah.
Pointed out here in the chat that Team 10 has gone on quite a run of young starters. They mentioned the back-to-back Mizorowski, Savage, Chandler. This is also the Chase Burns team. Quite a rotation we're building in Team 10 here. Paul Skeens, Chase Burns, Jacob Mizorowski, Treya Savage, Bubba Chandler. The talent's there, certainly. Of all the rotations that I could have in 2030, that's the best one, certainly. Average age is probably 23 or something. What do you think of that kind of rotation?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely high upside. I love Savage. I have him ranked pretty highly. I think he's under projected in terms of innings. And the fact that they're going to kind of ramp him up slowly. And I think I saw a post on our news blotter that the Blue Jays would consider doing like 3 or 4 inning starts at the beginning of the year, which, that's fine. But, I have him kind of in the 160, 165 range for innings this season. Most projection systems have him in like the 130 to 140 range. So, I think those extra 20, 25 innings or so really kind of boosts him up in my rankings for me. So.
Yeah, I like some of the pitchers that went just after. Mackenzie Gore is an interesting name. I'm a big Trevor Rogers guy this year. I know that he's not going to come close to repeating what he did last year, but I think people are penalizing him too much. It's not as if that was the first time Trevor Rogers was ever a good pitcher. Remember, he broke in the league and was excellent. So I think that could be quite a nice value there. A couple more second basemen off the board in this round. Ozzie Albies and Brandon Lowe. Running a little bit thin there, but as we mentioned, there will be time. So you do still need a first baseman and a second baseman. So that'll be interesting. The first base pool.
Second base. I've always waited. I've waited every single draft. I've waited. I haven't taken an early second baseman yet. I think.
It's really hard to. There's only one, right? If you're not taking Ketel Marte
Jazz or Ketel Marte, Terang, Horner, I've considered, but it's kind of build dependent. Same with Luke Keeschel. They're both very similarly projected.
Mm-hmm.
Ceddanne Rafaela is the one that I've kind of reached for, I guess you could say.
Because I think there's a lot of potential there.
His defense is elite. I mean, they're not going to really take him out too much. Maybe sit versus some right-handers, but not a ton.
Rafaela's got the PCA starter kit.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's so many second basemen I like late.
Yeah,
I just have not gone there early. I think.
Do you feel okay not having a first baseman yet?
No, that's a little unsettling, but I'm not I'm not super worried about it yet. I mean, there's a handful of guys I still like and be comfortable with. I think my approach early, it would have been in the second round or third round would have been, Vlad or Bryce Harper. But the way the kind of picks went, they were kind of backup plans for those rounds. But the way just kind of I preferred it to go out was Crochet, Carroll, and that's, if Carroll wasn't there or Crochet had been taken before I had picked, I would have considered Vlad in the first or second round there. So I think one of these years, Vlad's just gonna, he destroys baseballs. A lot of them are into the ground, but he's got that elite exit velocity where it's just like he's just gonna hit like 50 home runs one of these years. So
yeah. Could certainly see it. We did just see Jonathan Aranda and Spencer Torkelson. The first baseman continue to go off the board. Matt Chapman as well. A couple starters, Shota Imanaga and Luis Castillo early in this round. We saw Ivan Herrera late in round 14. Player I like, but a player who's tough to fit onto a team who, when you're drafting a guy who's UT only now and you think he's going to be a catcher at some point, but you're not 100% sure, it does just force you to take a third catcher and creates a question of how early you're supposed to take that guy.
Yeah, really, really exciting bat. It's just I don't think you can 100% guarantee that he's going to get catcher eligibility. So you can't just draft him expecting he'll gain that eligibility. And I think with certain builds, like, do you draft him on a team? I think ideally where you have Salvador Perez or Ben Rice, where they have eligibility at first.
Oh, true.
Maybe that's kind of the path you take, but yeah, I don't think it's guaranteed that he gets catcher eligibility.
Yeah, so if you had not taken Hunter Goodman, for example, and your only catcher right now was Perez, you could theoretically consider Herrera and then take another catcher in round 29, and you have multiple ways for it to work out. Cade Horton and Sheen Baz going in this round. I'm yet again going to predict that you're about to take two hitters, and we'll find out if I'm right in a couple minutes here. Nearly at the halfway point of this draft. How do you think it's gone so far compared to your expectations? Are you feeling like it's more or less working out? You've sounded happy enough with pretty much all your picks.
Yeah, it's gone mostly to plan thus far. It's just filling out the rest of the hitters is the next task. I think I'm really comfortable with my starters and my relievers. But I think I'll probably have to spec on another closer target at some point later on, post round 2025. Just because, Uribe's doesn't really have hasn't been announced he's been the closer.
Right.
He's the closer yet. So I'll probably have to take someone on a shitty team like the Rockies or White Sox or somebody late.
Right. Yeah. Sir Anthony Dominguez, I don't know how late he's going to fall. We did just see Ryan Walker, another mostly real closer, I would imagine. Stephen Kwan, Aaron Nola. So you're up in 2 picks here, and you can go a lot of directions, but I would imagine some hitters. You've got 2 outfield spots still to fill. You've got a first baseman. You've got a second baseman to fill. You'll probably want a middle infielder who's a shortstop, just in case Connor Griffin doesn't come up early. You are set at third, though, so that's good. Oh, that was your first base target?
Yeah, I was going to take Burleson there, so I guess I'll have to take Wilson Contreras. I'm totally fine with. I'm not super worried about that.
Yeah, very solid bat. He's hit like a first baseman his whole career, and now he finally is one. So, not the most durable guy. 135 games last year, even while not catching, but pretty talented. Speaking of not durable, there was Royce Lewis going right after. And Bryson Stott could have been potentially your second base target, but who you got here?
Trying to decide where I should go. I think I should just stick to the plan. That I have, and there's somebody I just love this year. I think again, underprojected. He's going to play versus a bunch more left-handers this year, and it's already smashing baseballs. Wilyer Abreu.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah, if he definitely is going to get closer to full-time playing time, I mean, if we knew that he was certain to get full-time playing time, I don't think there's any chance he'd still be around at early 16th round, right? It's only fears of a platoon that are keeping him down. It's still a crowded outfield and a crowded roster in general in Boston. That outfield, though, could just be Duran, Rafaela, Abreu, and Roman Anthony at DH every day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's Duran, that's the DH, but Abreu is a Gold Glove defender. I mean, he should be in the outfield most days.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking at it. There are fewer threats than I thought. I guess the question is Christian Campbell. If the Red Sox get anything out of Christian Campbell, he's going to start against lefties in one of the corner outfield spots, and it's either Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu who would lose out, but I'm not sure they are going to get anything out of Christian Campbell.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I took him late in one of my draft and hold leagues, and just as kind of second base depth, if because that's what he qualifies
True.
for. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough to get excited about Campbell right now, just given the season he had last year. At this point last year, I mean, we were all raving about him. We were probably taking him around where we just took Abreu. So,
yeah, I like that pick. Abreu's got real power. Not going to be a 0 in average. Not going to run a lot, but he will steal you 8 bases, maybe. Plenty of upside there.
Yeah, and I kind of sighed when Burleson went the pick before me because, I'm looking at the roster and, Carroll, Miguel Garcia are probably my biggest batting average assets here, but they're not like elite. Sal Perez hit 230. He could hit 270, but he hit 230 last year. A lot of low batting average.
Adele and Ward aren't really going to help.
Yeah, exactly.
There.
So it's kind of like, Burleson was a better fit than Wilson Contreras, but I like Contreras. I think he's
2 of the players that could have fixed your batting average just went off the board there. Xavier Edwards and Jacob Wilson. I probably would have been looking at those with your start. Also, they would have given you shortstop cover Xavier Edwards could have been your second baseman as well. Was there any consideration for either of those guys over Abreu, or is Abreu just too good to pass up on?
Yeah, I think in terms of upside, and it's tough to get excited about Jacob Wilson and Edwards. I mean, they're total, team dependent players, like you said. Wilson would have certainly fit my team just for his high batting average there, but there's some other shortstops. There's still plenty that I like. I did have both Edwards and Wilson in my queue. It's just, it's just two less people in the queue.
Yep, fair enough. Britton Allen pointing out the a Willie Abreu clip that I missed. He challenged a strike call and then just walked to first, knowing it was ball 4. That is very exciting. Move him up your board, certainly. We had a comment here, too, on Team 12, noting how much risk they're taking on. Kyle Bradish, Corey Seager, Nathan Eovaldi, Sandy Alcantara, Royce Lewis. Better pray to the baseball god, says PJ. Yeah, something to that. Cole Reagan's also on that team. Kyle Tucker, you could even say, is on that team as well. Some upside, some downside, certainly, on that one. We had a question here about Tetsuya Imai. GP Churchill in the chat here wondering about Ryan's thoughts on Imai. I won't give mine then because they weren't asked for, but Ryan, Tetsuya Imai, would you pick him at all this year?
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but you probably know more about Imai than I do, so I'll defer to you on the Imai.
Yeah, he's an interesting one. He has only actually been good in Japan for a couple years. He had major control problems. Well, he was good, but not a perfect profile. It was, mid-20s strikeout rate with double-digit walk rates until just a couple years ago. But he did get the control under control last year, cut his walk rate all the way down to 7%, compared with a 28% strikeout rate. Pretty interesting line last year. ERA under 2, whip under 1. It is a dead ball period in Japan right now, so don't be overly skewed by some of those ERAs and whips coming out of the NPB right now. They're quite low, but a pretty interesting player, and I like the landing spot in Houston. Should give him a decent enough chance at winning some games. So I don't think I'm much higher than the market, but I think I'd be happy to take him. Would not have targeted him with your pitching heavy build, though, certainly. Wrapping out round 16 here, we had Colton Cowser, Francisco Alvarez, Ian Happ, Sal Stewart, and Alejandro Kirk. Would you have considered Sal Stewart when you were looking at first baseman there? He's somebody that the people who really like.
Yeah, he's pretty exciting. I really think he could be a really good value this year. It's just, consistent playing time, right? And I think he'll get it. But that's kind of, the big question with him. Where's his defensive home?
Right. And the Reds in general have enough players that they can't necessarily fit all of them in every single game. So he's going to have to hit, but I think he's going to hit.
So these are the rounds, that every pick, it's like round 17 through like 22, or like there's going to be like a lot of different guys I want. So with each pick, I think this is where it really kind of opens up. And, these rounds, obviously setting the foundation of your team in the early rounds is important, but this is kind of really where the drafts are won in these rounds. So.
Yeah, and in these rounds, are you comfortable jumping ADP by a lot if you have to? Certainly,
yeah, for sure.
Last 10 rounds, but even at this point in the draft, if you like a guy, you jump him 3-4 rounds.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Yeah, it's you're turning over a lot of these players anyway, post round 15. I mean, some of them are going to stick on your team all season, but a lot of them are ones that you're just kind of cycling in and out based on injuries, playing time, whatever. Leone was just went, and he was somebody I would have considered in this round just for his power upside. certainly crushing the ball this spring.
I'm a big Jack Caglione guy this year. I think just had some of the worst luck in all of baseball. What was his BABIP was like 180 something. Looking it up, it was not even 180, 172. And he didn't even have one of those fly ball heavy profiles that often lends itself to a bad BABIP. He actually hit a few too many grounders. I think his XBA was 80 points higher than his actual batting average. He hit the ball hard, 12% barrel rate, didn't have a strikeout problem. Fences are now coming in. I think Jack Caglione is a very good target this range of the draft. After him, Jack Flaherty and Gabriel Moreno here in the middle of round 17. Chris Bubic went right before Jack Caglione, and if the injury news is positive about him, that could be a real steal. He's been throwing, so it might be just fine.
Yeah, he's one of those that's, like I was just talking about, these potentially like league type winning picks, and he certainly kind of fits that bill if he's healthy. So
yeah, that's what it was last year, and the price didn't rise because of those injury worries. So, and at this point in the draft, you can afford to take a guy who has a very low downside, right? You're in the second half of your draft already.
Right.
There goes Sir Anthony Dominguez. If you were targeting him as your third closer, not going to get him.
No.
Speaking of pitchers with a downside, there's Shane McClanahan.
Yeah,
he was
good near the top of my queue, so it's kind of a bummer.
Scheduled to make his spring debut Tuesday, unless that was last Tuesday. There's Jorge Polanco. Now back to you, Ryan, for your round 17 pick. Who is it?
I'm going to take a look at Kazuma Okamoto here.
Nice.
I was looking at potential shortstops there, but there's so many still left on the board that are good and perfectly capable of stepping into the starting lineup for me if Connor Griffin doesn't start there.
There goes Murakami 2 picks later. I think I would take Okamoto first. You didn't push him up at all. I think that's a really nice value. Yeah. Who are you pairing him with at this 18th pick? We can talk a little bit more about Okamoto after this one. You now have all of your infield but a second baseman. You've got 4 outfielders. You've got 2 catchers. You've got 5 starters and 2 closers. You've got a nice balance at this point.
I think I'm going to just take Rodon. He might be one of those guys where it's like, I don't know, I already have Wheeler who's hurt.
Yeah.
So Rodon is certainly going to be on my bench to start the year, but I mean, he's definitely a top 200 player if he's back by May 1st. So
right. Yeah. Would you have preferred McClanahan or Bubic among the other pitchers coming back from injury?
Yeah, McClanahan, yes, and Tanner Bybee and Jack Flaherty also went in round 17. Mm-hmm. I would have preferred all 3 of those guys.
What about Joe Musgrove also coming back from injury, who just went?
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you have
a lot
now
of Rodon this year. I think I'm too overexposed, to be honest. But at this point in the draft, past pick 200, it's like, I think let's see on my sheet, even with a lower innings projection, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, he's 175 on my sheet, so
yeah. So value for you for sure. some PRP injections in his elbow was pretty nerve-wracking, but things can only get so nerve-wracking if you're talking about an 18th round pick. If it doesn't work out, you'll be okay. The issue, I think, with Rodon is just that what if there's, a little setback?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's late April, early May, and you've got a couple other injuries, and you're setting yourself up for that situation where you just don't know what to do with him all year if it doesn't go well. And on a team that already has Wheeler and Griffin, I mean, there's a chance you don't have much bench to play with. But
yeah, and I think but if you look at the starting pitchers available, I mean, it's all very speculative at this point. I mean, there's some pretty reliable starters historically still left, but now it's like big question marks, right? And I think Rodon has proven to this point in his career that, when healthy, he's can be elite. Certainly won't hurt you, but this is really kind of a wins upside type thing. We had a bunch of wins last year. Not going to kill you in ratios, and the strikeouts are, coming down, but not horrible. So,
yeah. Well, we're talking about injured pitchers. There's a question about Garrett Cole. Would you have considered him among those other injured pitchers? I mean, the issue with him is that I think his timeline is later. I think we're looking at late May at best, right?
Yeah, and that's why I went with Rodon. I was trying to decide which one I wanted to take, and I think Cole goes a little bit later. Just looking at the ADP board from the last week of online championships, and round. I don't know. He's a few rounds later than where we're at. So,
yeah, pick 250-ish. I doubt you'll be taking him. That would be quite a lot of currently injured players if you do go that route. But I do want to touch on Kazuma Okamoto a little bit more because I think that's a really nice pick. He's somebody who really good. Yeah, really good plate discipline numbers in Japan, always making good contact. Last year, he actually walked as much as he struck out, 11.3% for both of those. He's got real power, too. Munetaka Murakami was the bigger power prospect. Murakami has, I believe, the second highest home run total in a single season in Japanese baseball history, but that was a few years ago, and he's had some real issues making contact since then. There's a chance that Murakami's not a big leaguer. Kazuma Okamoto looks like he should translate really well. He reminds me of Seiya Suzuki in terms of his Japanese numbers, just a really well-rounded, good power. There was as many as 41 homers a few years ago, another season with 39. He had 15 last year, but it was in only 69 games. So over a full season, that's still at least 30 homer power. And remember, there's that dead ball era in Japan right now. It was a 210 WRC plus for him last season. I think he's just a really well-rounded hitter, and I think he's going to make the translation pretty well. Again, I think it's very Seiya Suzuki level numbers. If you look at their last few years over in Japan, Suzuki also his final year walked almost as much as he struck out and had 38 homers in that final season. So I feel pretty good about Okamoto making the transition, and if the playing time's going to be there, which I think it will be if he hits, I think that could be a real nice value there. Giving yourself a nice corner infield bat.
Yeah, I saw some, spring highlights of him. He looked, I think he took, I forget who the pitcher was, but I think it was Rangers Ron Hare sorry. I think he took him deep on a sinker low, or if it was somebody, maybe it wasn't him, but yeah, it was, I don't know. Where do you think he plays for the Jays?
It looks like they were going to just play him at third and move Addison Barger to the outfield. Barger, who went, just a few picks after. One pick after your Carlos Rodon. Another guy who I like, but not sure if he's going to be every day. There's some questions about him playing against lefties. The thing about taking a righty is if he's good enough to hit against righties, he's playing every day. So I think Okamoto, I'm pretty sure he's an everyday player, or, gets the occasional day off, but not much more than that. We are well into the 19th round now. I just want to mention Chandler Simpson went in the middle of last round to team 6, and I think that's a good team for Chandler Simpson to be on. I think you can only take him if you're behind on steals. You can't have him be your only steal source because if he spends most of the year in the minors, which is a possibility, even if not a likelihood, then you're just totally screwed on speed. But I think Team 6 had Jose Ramirez and then not a lot of other big steal sources. Who get some from Langford, some from Butler. But I think that makes sense. I think you got to be smart about where you're taking Chandler Simpson, but I think that's viable enough. Are you willing to take Simpson at all?
Yeah. Again, I think it's team dependent. I think my first draft of the year, I went really power heavy early, and he kind of fit that. I took Schwarber and Raleigh with my first 2 picks. It was the first DC of the year that started when last season was still going on. Rob DiPietro, too early.
Oh, the August one.
Yeah, the August one. And it was with that type of start, when you kind of had middling batting averages with super high power, I think that's where you can kind of absorb Simpson's lack of power and good average. I think good average, high speed. That's the type of team I would want him on. But yeah, super build dependent for me.
Yeah, I think
we're not even sure he's gonna open the season with the Rays. I mean, they've got many good outfielders there.
So many left-handed outfielders. That's the problem. Yeah. They added one more recently. Was it when they added Jacob Melton? Then I got a little worried. You are up in just a couple picks here. We did see Garrett Cole go in the middle of round 19, right after Ryan Weathers, who some people in the chat were pushing for. We've seen Jerkson Profar, Brenton Doyle, Adolis Garcia. You're up in 2 picks here, and I think you still have the luxury of going a lot of different directions, except for injured player. Anything but that, I think, which, knowing how good I've been at projecting your picks, I'm guessing you're about to pick 2 injury stashes.
I don't think that'd be smart for me at this point, but there's several names I'm really actually kind of surprised that are still on the board. But
I'll get to this question from PJ right after you make your 2 picks here at the turn. Alec Boehm just went off the board. Who you got? Round 19 can go in a lot of different directions.
I think this is just gotta double check where he's going. Yeah, I think I have to take another first baseman here, Jake Berger. I think he's ADP over the last week is right around this range. I don't think any of the first basemen after this I'd be too comfortable with, so I want to give some backup to Wilson Contreras there. A little more power upside.
All right, and then we just saw Sal Frelick and Kerry Carpenter. A nice pairing there, all average and all power. And right back to you, Ryan. We have 2 first basemen and 2 third basemen, so you've got your UT spot full.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm lucky. Obviously, I need a second baseman. There's just still so many. It's like, do I take one here? I mean, I think
your only middle infielder is Griffin.
Yeah, I should probably take a shortstop to back him up. I'm going to take Xander Bogaerts. He's just the best player on my board.
That makes a ton of sense paired with Griffin because Bogaerts is just going to be there all year and he's going to be fine, right?
Yeah.
A nice stabilizing option there. So there's 3 picks left in the active rounds, and you need a second baseman and a second baseman, an outfielder, and a pitcher?
Yep.
Not that you're required to get those 3 in the first 23 rounds, of course, but decent amount of balance. I'm just curious, who are the top 5 second basemen left by ADP, just to demonstrate how many choices are still out there?
So it would be Gleyber Torres, Marcus Semien, Willie Castro, or Luis Garcia, Willie Castro.
So some guys who are fine and gonna play.
Yeah, it looks like Holiday got taken. So
Yes.
Otto Lopez.
Mhm.
So
not like exciting, but you can
yeah,
find a second baseman
nobody
who's
is
going to
like
play.
super sexy or anything. It's just
Right.
yeah, but definitely plenty left that should get regular playing time. So
there was this question about, is WRC plus the best stat to use to evaluate Japanese hitters? I wouldn't put it that way, but the reason I cited Okamoto's WRC plus is just because it's huge. I don't care that much about, did the guy have, a 130 or a 140, but when a guy's putting up a WRC plus over 210, then he wasn't just a very good hitter in Japan. He was absolutely dominant. And even though, as you mentioned, some of the factors that make a hitter good in Japan might not exactly translate, if you're that good, then I'm pretty confident you're going to have some success. The guys who come over from Japan and don't stick as regulars tend to be guys who are, good hitters over in Japan. And if you're merely good, it might not always work when you face a lot tougher pitchers. But I'm pretty confident a guy who was as much of an outlier as Okamoto was is going to be just fine.
Yeah, and I think early in draft season it was frequently Murakami over Okamoto, and now I think it's kind of trending to flip the other way. Is that the right kind of call in your opinion?
I think that's the case, and I think that I have also flipped it as well. I think Okamoto, once we saw that he was going to land in a place where he was going to play quite a lot, I think also the fact that he got more guaranteed money shows us that MLB teams are more confident in him. You can also throw in the fact that it was the White Sox, who aren't exactly considered the smartest organization, who was the one that went for Murakami. If a team who's known to be very smart, what if the Brewers signed Murakami? Then you'd think, oh, they must see something, right? Maybe we don't want to put too much stock into that, but I do think we want to put some. The fact that he landed with the White Sox, or if it was the Angels or something like that, there are just some teams where you think, wait a second, if they like this guy, am I right to like him? So just a lot of little things. It could still work, certainly, for Murakami. He might be one of those guys that hits the ball so hard that the batting average is playable, even with, a 35% strikeout rate. But there's a very real chance it's going to be 35% or worse. We have a very important question here. What is under the blue lights on the shelves in Ryan's background? What do you got back there?
Let me see here. So wedding picture, honeymoon picture.
Oh, there you go.
Work awards. LeBron James cards.
Nice. I was going to say, is it all your trophies? But sort of.
Helmet out from, because they're terrible. I had some gifts from my son up there.
Nice. Very exciting display case you've got back there. Curious to see where the third young shortstop goes. We haven't seen McGonigal yet, right? We saw Connor Griffin go pretty early to you in round 12. We saw JJ Weatherholt in late round 18. Kevin McGonigal is not drafted yet, right? Weatherholt is the one who has the clearest path to opening day playing time. Would you have considered him at all? Probably not on a team with Connor Griffin.
If I didn't take Griffin, I would have definitely targeted Weatherholt around this range. I think, Connor Griffin wasn't even on my draft plan, but it was just kind of like I saw him there. I saw, he was going to come up, and there goes McGonigal.
Is Team 2 listening to the stream, I wonder? Because they just picked Kevin McGonigal, paired him with JJ Weatherholt. They have 4 shortstops. That's going to be a little tricky. Francisco
it's actually
Lindor.
funny. So what he did there, rounds 18 through 20, took Weatherholt, Colson Montgomery, Kevin McGonigal. I actually took that exact same trio in a draft and hold, all right in a row.
Does one of them have extra eligibility? I guess is the gamble
Weatherholt
that McGonigal's gonna, or Weatherholt, they're gonna play elsewhere, right? That right, of course, because Mason Wynn is there. I was gonna say this doesn't work unless one of them can play elsewhere in the first week of the season with Lindor, Weatherholt, Montgomery, and McGonigal. If they were all ready to go, one of them stuck on the bench. But you're right, JJ Weatherholt is going to have middle and corner eligibility, so that should work out. Or I guess second. Yeah, he'll play second, not third, probably. So it'll be just middle, but you'll be able to fit him in at second base. Although they have Luke Keyshaw. So I still don't know how they're going to fit all their players in their starting lineup unless I'm missing something. Maybe McGonigal?
Keyshaw.
We don't really know.
Keyshaw's on the Twins, right? Are you talking about the Twins?
Yeah, I'm talking about team 2. If they've got Lindor filling shortstop, Keyshaw filling second, and then they've got 3 more middle infielders. One of them can go in middle, one of them can go at UT. The other one, they got to find another spot for it. But interesting build there. Certainly a lot of talented young hitters, though. Maybe the gamble is I bet 2 of these 3 guys work out, and I'll drop the one who doesn't.
Yeah.
Brian Abreu fell all the way to the middle of round 20. I think that counts as falling, right?
Yeah, I was going to count him actually because he was in my queue, and I was really deciding. Not part of my draft plan for him to fall as far as he did. So I kind of faded it. I think I needed the backup shortstop more than I needed Brian Abreu. But yeah, he was in my queue near the top. So
that team already has 2 closers, by the way. Carlos Estevez, Emilio Pagan, and now Brian Abreu. So if Abreu does get the job, then they're winning saves, but they're only playing 6 starters a week. You really want to be 7-2 as many weeks as possible, right?
Yeah, and I think it depends, right? Like towards the end of the season, you can kind of play with that a little bit. With a strong starting rotation like I have at the top here, I think it's a little bit easier to kind of pivot to 6-3 or even 5-4 later in the season if I'm behind in saves. So just kind of depends. It's what I did in the main event last year. I was struggling in saves, so I think I ran last week. I ran with 4 or 5 closers even. But I had the strong pitching foundation. I had Scooble and Crochet. So
which is how Robert Suarez there going to the Raisel Iglesias team. I think that makes sense. Although, what do you think of the idea of grabbing 2 relievers from one team? Because you're at most getting 1 closer out of them.
Yeah. All right.
So you're up now, so we can focus on more important things.
Well, Ryan Nelson was near the top of my queue, so I'll just go with the next guy.
I like that guy a lot. Mike Burrows. Really promising numbers in a partial season last year, and now he goes to theoretically a stronger team in Houston. And that's your 9th pitcher. There goes Casey Mize.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking about Luis Arias because it kind of fits my build. He's going to get second base eligibility, right? He's not you're never going to play him at first. So I was strongly considering him because he fits that strong batting average here. I think I'm actually going to. I'm going to lean Brendan Donovan here because should pick up some extra eligibility. I think that's kind of the tiebreaker for me over some of the other second basemen that are still very strong second basemen that are still on the board. But I like the possibility of that extra eligibility for Donovan. So the lean, very similar to Arias, very similar profile in terms of high batting average, not too much power. Should hit at the top of the Mariners lineup. So,
yeah, a little worried about what the batting average might look like in Seattle, which specifically hits average, but even he's going to hit at least 265 or something, even in a down year, and he usually hits 280. And is he probably going to lead off. Is that what we're looking at? We currently have Brendan Donovan projected to lead off against both lefties and righties. I mean, if you get an everyday leadoff man in round 22, that's a lot of runs.
Yeah, I mean, hitting in front of J-Rod, Naylor, as long as he can stay healthy.
Yep. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Some upside and downside with the pitchers in this range of the draft, as you would expect. There was a Grayson Rodriguez, Jack Leiter, Kodai Senga, Cody Ponce, all going in the last round. Mike Burrows, I think, still fits into that. Braxton Ashcraft, who just went as well. Any of those other guys other than Burrows? You mentioned Ryan Nelson is probably not quite as much of a high upside, low floor guy, but would you take a chance on any of those other riskier starters who just went?
Yeah. So round 21 was actually, let's see, only 2 hitters that round. So 10 starters or 10 pitchers. I shouldn't say starters. Yeah. It was, but yeah, I was interested in most of them, to be honest. Will Warren's having a nice spring. He was on my list. Cody Ponce was on my list. Leiter and Ryan Nelson were certainly right there, along with Burrows. They were all kind of grouped together for me. I wouldn't have. I'm interested in Grayson on other teams, not on this team, just because I have Wheeler, Rodon already. I think just adding
Grayson on teams other than the Angels.
Yeah, and I think it wouldn't make really too much sense to have Grayson on this team in particular, or Merrill Kelly, just because he's dealing with a back injury, right? So, but yeah, it was big pitching round. Most of them, yeah, I definitely would have considered there. I think Ponce and Warren would have been the picks, and then Nelson when Nelson was right next in line, and then Burrows. So,
yep, a lot of interesting options. And in the 12-team league like this, these are already your final 10 rounds, so you can afford to take some risks, certainly. Although you could also just take Noah Cameron, who is going quite late. I think everybody knows that he outpitched his peripherals by a good amount last year, but a reasonably solid pitcher to help round out a pitching staff. I guess a little bit scared of the fences moving back in. Connolly Early just goes off the board if he's in the rotation. That's going to be a great value, but if he's not, stuck figuring out what to do. So we have one more pick in the active rounds for you, and the only spot on your roster is an outfielder. Is that correct?
Yep.
Not
I'm just scrolling through the outfielders right now. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'll probably cycle through this last outfield spot because I pretty safely say like Carroll, Adele, Ward, Willie, or Abreu probably aren't coming out of my lineup too much. Maybe if Carroll's doesn't make it back for opening day, but
you will need at least one outfielder on the bench just in case, but you wouldn't that anyway.
But yeah, I'm just scrolling through the available outfielders now and adding some to my queue, and still plenty of strong ones. So I think for an outfield 5 type, I'll try to shoot for some upside.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
So we touched on this earlier. Given that you started pitching heavy, it's probably going to lead to a different bench than typical. I mean, typically, I think for me, I'm usually going, if I can, 5 starters, 2 hitters, maybe 4 starters, 1 reliever if I didn't trust both my closers. But I doubt you're going to go that pitcher heavy. If you could guess right now, what do you think the distribution between hitters, starters, and relievers on your bench is going to be?
I'm going to need at least one. Let's see, I'll probably go 4 hitters, 3 pitchers.
With 2 will have to be starters. Closer. Yeah.
Just to, cover Rodon and Wheeler in case, Wheeler might even make it back. They might just not even put him on the IL to start if he's, getting close.
It's possible.
But yeah, I'll need 2 starters for sure. And then one I'll take in the last round, I'll take a closer 3 spec.
So what do you think about when you're building a hitter-heavy bench? Because you're not going to use most of them most weeks. Or are you trying to go for platoon guys who are really interesting for half the week and uninteresting the other half? What sorts of considerations would you have in a hitter-heavy bench?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at probably where I'm weakest position wise. And just looking right now, it's probably. I mean, I'm not. I guess it's the infield spots for me, right? It's just I'm gonna have some flexibility with Brendan Donovan being able to cover,
Right.
middle and corner eventually.
Yeah, you've got 4 corner guys before Donovan even gets eligibility.
Yeah.
Your middle is probably weaker.
Yeah, and again, I think I'm no problem at all with Bogarts in case Connor
Right.
Griffin doesn't start
I guess if
opening day.
if Griffin's in the minors for a month, you actually still don't have a middle infielder, so you'll
Yeah.
need something in
So I'll
there.
definitely need a couple middle infielders here, and there's plenty left. So, but yeah,
And
I'll probably use one of the bench spots on a middle infielder. Definitely need to take 2 more outfielders.
Are you going as upside heavy as you can, or do you try to sneak 1 or 2 high floor guys onto a bench if there are any left?
I mean, I probably shoot for upside. I just have to see who kind of fits the
Right.
team, because fit is everything.
Right. How do you feel about your category balance right now? It looks
I'm not
pretty
like,
decent to
that's the
me.
thing. I'm not tracking it because I
Yeah.
just being on an end. It's like theoretically I should be able to track it because there's so much time between picks. Once it passes me at the turn, but I'm
But
just
you've
not
got
doing it for
somebody
this
asking
draft
you
because
questions every 10 seconds, so that makes it harder.
yeah, and I'm doing the live stream. It's just harder.
Yep.
I'll probably do that more so with the other online championships I do this year, but just kind of eyeballing it, it's like probably need some more speed.
Yeah.
Because I think got some guys that'll pitch in 5-6 steals, but really the main speed assets are Carroll, Miguel Garcia, and Connor Griffin, who
Right.
may not even contribute to my team until the second half. So
Yeah, I would say at least one good speed guy on the bench.
yeah, and I think speed and average are the 2 things I'll probably be looking at for the rest of the draft.
Robert Garcia and Riley O'Brien just went. Were those potential closer 3s for you?
No, I'm seeing once I took my closer 2, it's if I hadn't taken Uribe, I would have possibly looked at O'Brien around this range, but I'm just waiting now till the last round to.
Yeah. Well, you're up in 2 picks here with your 23rd and 24th. Just saw Bailey Ober and Joey Cantillo just went, and TJ Friedel. Who you got?
He kind of fits that bill of a high average type guy. I think I'm gonna go with Justin Crawford here. He kind of fits the team. What we were just talking about in terms of speed and average. And who knows how the average will translate at the big league level, but he's got a job and should steal plenty of bases. So.
All right back to you. We had a nice little rookie Phillies run there. Well, run of 2 players, Crawford and Andrew Painter, then Jordan Lawler. And your first bench pick.
Let's see. I think
middle infielder. Is it going to be a hitter?
It's going to be a middle infielder. Just trying to decide which one I should take between 2 guys who are very similar. I think
take the better one.
Yeah, I think in terms of, I think I'm just going to take Gleyber Torres.
Yeah. So solid, so boring, but he's going to play almost every day.
Yeah, I mean it's between him and Semien for me, and it was like Semien's the fine pick too, in my opinion. Can he get back to that like 20 home run level? And
I think you've done a great job demonstrating why you can wait at second base. Brendan Donovan
exactly.
round 22, Gleyber Torres in round 24. They're both everyday players, and they're both totally fine. They're both above average bats.
Yeah.
Really good for your counting stats there. And I really like that Justin Crawford pick. I've been targeting him pretty heavily, not just as a Phillies homer, but because they've made it clear since early in the offseason that Justin Crawford was going to be the guy. There's a chance he gets platooned with a Johan Rojas or something, but Phillies really seem to be clearing out a path for him. And he's not going to give you any power.
Most rostered player.
It's Justin Crawford? Yeah. Nice. He's going to give you 5 homers. This guy has the worst launch angle around. You look at his ground ball rates coming up through the minors. His lowest ground ball rates are like 57, 59%. I mean, he turns every opposing pitcher into Framber Valdez, but he doesn't actually have soft contact. That's the thing. He actually hits it fairly hard. It's just into the ground, which means he's not going to have a low BABIP. And because he's got speed and he strikes out a pretty reasonable amount of the time. It was, 18% strikeout rates in the minors. That can afford to jump up to around league average. And I think with a league average strikeout rate, he's still going to give you a pretty good batting average because it's going to be hard grounders all the time. And then he's going to get to first base a lot and steal 30 bases if he plays every day. So I think that's a really big fit on your team. Big fan.
Yeah, yeah, and it's really a toss-up between him and Semi, and I don't know. That one will probably come back to, I'll probably look at that at the end of the year and be like, did I make the right call? Not sure, but
yeah. So you got 6 picks left, probably 3 hitters still. And 3 pitchers, if we fit what we were talking about at the start of the reserve rounds here.
Yeah, I should probably make a little list of get the old pen and paper out and see how I should fill things out.
Oh, we had an interesting question here. How do we value stacks? I don't think that I give a lot of weight to them, but I guess a little bit of a tiebreaker if you feel yourself going a little bit heavy on one offense. I think that's mostly just a DFS style concern, but I think it's probably worth a little bit of something. Would you give the tiebreaker, Ryan, to somebody on a team that you already have some hitters on?
I don't really think about stacks unless I'm playing DFS.
Yeah.
I think that's where it kind of comes into play, but
yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's at most a tiebreaker. The problem is when you get that team facing some tough pitchers, you got all, too many hitters at once in a tough spot. We got Shane Bieber here going late round 24. Pitcher I wouldn't have targeted on your team because you've already got plenty of guys you're going to have to wait on, but could be a good value there. And Mickey Moniak at the end of round 24 here. Interesting player. Problem with Mickey Moniak is he's not going to play against lefties, and do you want to play him on the road? So how many weeks are you actually going to use him? But if you can get him in the reserve rounds, I think the series where he is facing 3 righties in Coors Field, Mickey Moniak is going to play like a 15th round pick or something better.
Right.
Evan Carter, a potentially high upside outfielder, just went there.
Yeah, he was on my list. Again, just given the team needs for potential stolen bases, probably a little higher power floor than Crawford, but
right. I mean, you and I have a higher power floor than Justin Crawford, but
yeah. I'm just trying to fill my queue with whatever else I need here. What round are we in? We are in
round 25.
25. So
And you now have all your positions covered, even with Connor Griffin. If he misses time, you're still okay there. So you really have the freedom to take whoever looks interesting.
Yeah, Stanton's interesting. It's just like that whole report on not being able to open a bag of chips is just
right.
Like, how do you even take them after?
Not what you want. I don't understand how you can hit a baseball if you can't open a bag of chips, but I guess they take different muscles.
It's just like it's so remarkable just even hearing that. I mean, and knowing he could probably still hit 30 home runs.
Yeah. I wonder which he'd rather do. Would he rather be able to hit 30 homers or open a bag of chips?
Yeah.
50-50 for me. So at this stage of the draft, how are you prioritizing things? Are you looking at just whichever position has fewer guys in your queue, just grab him first?
Yeah, I mean, there's, like I said, I want a couple pitchers, definitely a closer spec. So I'm looking at the closers left or potential closers left on the board and seeing who could potentially fill that spot. But I don't think I'm going to prioritize that until the last round, just because there's just so many guys. It's I'll probably end up churning the roster spot anyway. So,
and there's probably only one or two guys who are even the favorite to close for their team left.
Yeah.
You could get the Rockies closer in round 30 if you want. I wouldn't do it. Now there's one closer still out there who I like, who I'm not going to mention, just in case somebody else here takes him. But I'm curious if you'll end up with the guy I just sent you in the private chat. We'll see in a few rounds, maybe.
Yeah, no.
No, not into him.
Probably
we can
not
talk about him then. You're not into Taylor Rogers? I think he might be the guy in Minnesota. No?
Yeah, probably, but he's got the most experience there by far, so I think he's very clearly the favorite. But if you look at the last, he hasn't been horrible over the past like 3 years. I mean, it's not like he's killing anybody's ratios or anything, but
so I guess I'll ask you the general strategy question about your third closer here after you make your pick, because you're almost up. But I'm curious if you're more likely to take a guy who probably won't close, but if he does, he's really good, versus a guy like Rogers who might be the favorite. He's just not that exciting.
Yeah, let me take
high upside outfielder Bryson Bang.
Take Chris Bassett here.
Not exactly high upside, but you needed a steady, reliable starter because there's a chance that you don't have enough in the early part of the season. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Ernie Clement and Sean Manaea off the board. Back to you for pick 26.
Yeah. This one's hard because, let me see, I don't know what to do. Go for upside or stability.
I think in round 26, you look at the upside, but it depends on the exact names.
I guess I'll take Hooley from San Francisco.
Jung Hoo Lee, yeah, if you were feeling like you were power heavy and average light, he'll help in that.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that somebody who's like, I don't know, that one I'll probably regret. There's just other higher upside picks clearly than Hooley, but I think it's, again, between outfield 5, it's like between him and Crawford for me, and I'm still probably going to take another outfielder. So
yeah, and I think with those two, you can just play whichever of them faces more righties in a given scoring period, at least to start the year.
Cedric Mullins was on the list.
Oh yeah, He just went there. We had an answer to the Giancarlo Stanton question here from Kevin. Says, if I could hit 30 homers in MLB, I could pay somebody to get the chips, open bag, and feed them to me. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
I guess I'd probably choose the 30 homers as well. So for your bench, you now have 2 hitters and 1 starter. So thinking probably 2 more hitters, a starter and a closer.
Yeah, I think how many picks do I have left? Only 4. So 2 pitchers, 2 hitters, I'm thinking. Oh, did I miscalculate that? Oh, I actually have another pick that I didn't think I had. So that's good. So maybe, maybe 3. No, 2 and 2. Yeah, I'll do 2 and 2.
Adam here pointing out that you literally said oof as you picked Lee.
True.
Not a good sign.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad pick, but you do.
Yeah, it's not like he'll be someone I turn over in this format. I mean, he's not super high on my list, but within my rankings, he's a theoretical value based on post 300. So
yeah, and it's just tough in these 12 teamers, right? In a 15 teamer, you'd say Jung-Hoo Lee is definitely fine, not exciting, but will definitely clear the bar. In a 12 teamer, the bar is higher, and he is closer to it. I think he's reliable, but it is a little tricky. If he starts out cold, he's just gone.
I'm pretty sure I drafted him in the Beat Ryan Rufe League last year, and I dropped him pretty quickly. So he'll probably be one I dropped. But
had some potential closer 3s just went here. Will Vest, Clayton Beater. Were those on your short list of potential third relievers? No.
I think
Beater the guy in Washington.
I would think so, but I mentioned in my closer article that he's only has 29 innings of big league experience, and he walked 17% of the hitters he faced last year. Had a consistent walk rate in the minors above 12%. So it's tough to endorse that.
Right. He is the guy that says something about Washington, not something about him, probably.
Yeah. And I talked with Jeff Erickson about this yesterday on Sirius XM. Was, it's a new manager in Washington.
True.
He's probably going to try to lean on a guy with experience. There really isn't much experience in Washington's pen, but
by not much, I think you mean literally none.
Yeah, but it's just
just looking at their depth chart: Clayton Beater, Cole Henry, CNL Perez, PJ Poulin, Jackson Rutledge, gross. Julian Fernandez, Gus Varland.
This is literally the worst bullpen in baseball by it's not even close.
Griff
worse than the Rockies.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, I could see Drew Smith, who they signed to a minor league deal, be their closer.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's not a lot there. Or maybe, one of the starters moves to the bullpen and it's Jake Irvin. I don't think it's him, but Josiah Gray would probably be a good closer if they did that to him. I don't think Miles Michaelis is a candidate, though. What a team. I thought there was more in this Washington team, but seemingly not. Edwin Uceta also went in that round, but not sure how much of a closer he's going to be.
Yeah, I prefer Garrett Clevenger as kind of a backup to
he's still out there, right?
So I had Jax on my list to in that round 13 or 14. He went a few picks before me in round 13. I actually had Jax penciled in for that round. So
you do have Jax ahead of your eBay?
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Yes, I do. A few spots ahead of him, yeah.
We've got a fan of Team Oh, that's the wrong one. We'll get to that comment in a minute. We've got a fan of Team 3 here in the chat, Nick. Team 3 is the best team. Team 2 looks good as well. Team 3 was... I liked that Witt Churio start. Their rotation, Hunter Brown, Joe Ryan, Drew Rasmussen, Chris Bubich, Grayson Rodriguez, Bryce Miller, Brian Bayo. That worries me a little bit. I'd like
there's some injury risk there with Ryan.
One more proven starter.
Between Ryan, Bubich, Grayson, Bryce Miller,
but I really think they have good
because I have Wheeler.
Yeah, true. I'll say it then.
That's a little bit more risk than I'd be willing to take.
But I do like a lot of the hitters they got. I was liking that Team 2 earlier. Let's see how they've turned out. Judge, Lindor, Anthony to start their offense. They got some real power. Suarez, Kyle Stowers, you need him to play, but Sal Stewart, I like that pick. I'm just a little bit confused about all their shortstops, how they're planning on fitting them all in. But there's a lot of talented players there. There's not a question. Well, it's a question. Is Josiah Gray still in the league? Yeah, he's just coming back from surgery. So who knows what he looks like, but he should be good to go. His surgery was July 2024, so I would expect Josiah Gray to be in the rotation. Is he going to be on any of my teams? Probably not. Maybe in round 29 or something.
Yeah, DeLauder and Canzone were two outfielders on my list.
You're a Cleveland guy, right?
I am. Yeah, it's
what's your read on DeLauder?
It's so tough. I mean, he's an amazing hitter, but his health is you just can't. But in a league like this, I mean, that's the type of upside pick that I theoretically should have taken over Jung-Hoo Lee. So
yeah. Right, you can take Chase DeLauder, and then you can drop him when he gets hurt on April 2nd, and you can pick up Jung-Hoo Lee. Bryce Eldridge going right after him. I think that's quite a good round 27 pick. Lots of upside there.
Are you doing any online championships, Erik?
I have not scheduled mine yet, but I'm hoping to. Last year we streamed mine together, and I think I ended up okay, something like 3rd, 4th. There's Taylor Rogers, who would have been my closer 3 target, but not yours. Max Meyer as well. The last few rounds of a 12-team league do still have some real baseball players in them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
you've been drafting 15 teamers. Yeah, it's almost
so many
choice.
So many good players left. It's just where do you want to invest your? Yeah, Snelling was.
Yeah, that's a perfect high upside 27th rounder. Well, back to you. Who you got? A starter, a reliever, 2 hitters?
I think I'm going to take Mason Wynn as a kind of a. I think I'm probably weakest at shortstop right now, and he's got that like 15, 20 plus steal, 15 homer profile.
Yeah, and he's young enough that there's
pretty nice, similar to kind of Bogarts, only several rounds later.
2 more starters just went, Zebby Matthews and Jose Soriano. So back to you. You got room for 1 hitter, 1 starter, and 1 reliever, most likely.
Yeah, I think it's tough to ignore. Just scrolling through the outfielder list really quick before I click this person's name. Yeah, I think Matt Wallner's power upside is kind of what I'm shooting for here. So
yeah,
go there. I mean, there was a couple other outfielders I was interested in, but again, there's going to be so many targets I have for the first week of Fab. So
Yeah,
see.
I was going to ask, do you try to fit in at least one pick on your bench who you think more than likely you drop, but if you don't drop, cool? Because I always think there's going to be somebody I want to pick up, and if I don't have, it's somebody like a Robbie Snelling, say, who might be the sixth starter, but if he makes the rotation, I'm really happy to have him, and if he doesn't, then I know who my cut is. Do you try to do that on your bench, or do you try to go with 30 players who you think are going to be on the team?
Yeah, I mean, I never try to pick up somebody who's I'm going to drop.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say that, but
I think somebody who more than likely you drop, but if you don't, the upside is, much earlier than the 29th round.
yeah. I mean, there's a ton of hitters that haven't been picked yet that are totally viable.
Right.
That be
But
taken
that might be the waiver wire, right?
Yeah, I mean, but Spencer Steer, I mean, Mark Vientos, Josh Young, who before he got hurt was looking great this spring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Marcelo Marier,
if you needed a corner, Vientos would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of hitters that are going to be targets depending on what happens between now and the start of the season.
Right. Nick Castellanos, interesting.
So yeah, I've got pitchers queued up now for the last two rounds. I think it's pretty safe to
one starter, one reliever.
Yeah,
most likely. I like that Mason Wynn pick a lot. I think he's somebody who has a good combination of floor and maybe still a bit of ceiling. I think the ceiling's basically just based on his age. I mean, he doesn't turn 24 until a few weeks from now. He hasn't really shown a lot of power potential or a ton of speed, but he's going to play all the time. And sometimes these, good defensive shortstops with good hand-eye coordination, after a few years in the big leagues, the bat does start to take off. So I think he's a really good late-round pick.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on really taking, but I saw he was still there, and I think part of one of the things I need to be cognizant of when I'm drafting is, to make sure you check the regular just queue of players to see if there's anybody falling that could fit your team, right? So,
right.
Like Wynn wasn't part of my plan at all, but given my weakness at the shortstop position, I mean, again, it's hard to say weakness really because Bogaerts has been incredible for his career and Connor Griffin could be awesome, but just want that kind of extra option there because that's where I feel I'm weakest in the infield. And
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
It's just kind of one of those where you just kind of incorporate him into your plan since he fell a little bit.
Yeah, I like that pick.
So yeah, round 24, early round 24 ADP over the last week. So getting him in round 27. I mean, at this point, it's not really you can't be like, oh, screaming value, because the last 10 rounds of an online championship, I mean, you kind of just throw ADP out the window.
Right. They're all $1 players in an auction.
Yeah.
There's your Garrett Clevenger if you were considering him for RP3.
Yeah, he was on my list for sure.
So would you rather have a committee member or somebody who's not the favorite to get the job, but if they do win it, they win it outright if you're trying to fill this spot on your roster?
I would probably lean towards somebody who's likely to open the season with the job, but
I figured there might not be any of those left. I mean, if there are, that's Victor Vodnik or something. It's
But again, I mean, Victor Vodnik stinks, but if he has the job, he's, sometimes that's all you need.
Have you actually started a Rockies closer in any of your teams for the last several years?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
Okay. I guess if you do it, then I'm allowed to do it. I've tried to never do it, but
It's hard
you even
because
started.
the
Them in his
team
home
stinks,
game?
and you have to consider like teams that are actually going to win games, because
Right.
you need to win in order to get have a save opportunity. Yeah. So, but one of the guys I would consider would be Ben Joyce. He just went off the board.
Yeah. What's your read on that Angels bullpen? How would you rank those guys?
I have Yates currently, ahead of everyone else, but who knows? There's so many guys there.
There's so many. If there were two fewer guys, I would have been speculating on whoever was left quite a lot. But Yates, Joyce, Stevenson, Pomerantz, Romano, just 5 potential candidates there.
Wow, that run of picks just like really. Mick Abel was somebody I was eyeing. Justin Stearner I was eyeing for the last round. Reed Detmers was right at the top of my queue, so I'm just going to go with the next guy.
Grant Holmes, I like that one. He's healthy, right? He's healthy now, at least.
Apparently.
It seems. And he was good enough last year. All right, your final pick. Who's your last guy here?
Gonna go with the guy who I think has the job.
Oh,
my most rostered closer this year.
not Victor Vodnik, the correct Colorado Seth Halverson. I guess it's a battle between the two of them. Is Seth Halverson?
Who knows? I mean, again, is
he a good pitcher, independent of the Rockies?
I mean, Halverson's got the closer stuff. I mean, he can throw 100 miles an hour. It's just with him, it's like, okay, so you look at kind of where I started with the team, right? Like a strong base of ratios with Crochet, Wu, Gilbert, Wheeler, Sheehan. So given that base of ratio stabilization, I think you can kind of be a little bit more flexible with your closer options, even if they're not assets in those categories. So
the Rockies open the season at Miami. I think there's a very real chance that Seth Halverson is in your opening day active lineup, right? Especially, I mean, it's a short period. There's going to be a bunch of starters. You don't even have a game.
Right, and that's exactly it, right? You have to got to make sure you want to maximize your playing time there, win that first week. So, depending on how the starts line up and who's available on my team, I might have to pick up another reliever or starter that's going to be playing that short week. So
here's a weird thing I'm just seeing looking at this Rockies schedule. I don't see a single week in April where they're either home the whole week or away the whole week. Which is not ideal, which means every single week that you play Seth Halverson, other than that first mini period, you're taking on at least 3 home games. I see none in May as well. They keep having these 2 series in a row that are either home or away, but it's the Friday to Sunday and then the Monday to Wednesday. Literally, I don't see how far do we have to go to find an all-road Rockies. The first week where the Rockies are on the road the entire week starts on July 6th.
Oh, wow.
So who knows what to do there, but you're braver than me if you're taking some Rockies closers, and it might work out. I mean, he's only going to throw 50 innings, so he's not going to kill your ratios that much, right?
Yeah, I mean, he might be off my roster before week 1 even starts. Anyway.
Yeah, true.
I'm not like putting too much thought into whether or not I'm going to have to start him or not. So,
right. Last couple picks here. Some interesting guys in the last round. Cade Cavalli catches my eye. Josh Bell is probably a surprisingly solid high floor guy for round 30.
Cavalli was right behind Holmes on my list. So went with the better pitcher on the better team.
Rhett Lauder, and then Josh Smith is Mr. Irrelevant. I think that fits.
Oh, Rhett Lauder, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's wraps up the draft here. So should we take a look back at your entire team, Ryan?
Let's do it.
a very pitcher-heavy start. It was Garrett Crochet, Corbin Carroll, Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert. Then we went Hunter Goodman, Michael Garcia, Daniel Palencia, Salvador Perez. Then back to the rotation, Zach Wheeler, Joe Adele, Emmett Sheehan, Connor Griffin in round 12. Decent bit ahead of ADP there. Taylor Ward, Abner Uribe, Wilson Contreras, Wilyer Abreu, Kazuma Okamoto, Carlos Rodon, Jake Berger, Xander Bogaerts. Then we got Mike Burrows, Brendan Donovan, and Justin Crawford rounding out the active rounds. And then the reserve rounds, Gleyber Torres, Chris Bassett, Jung-Hoo Lee, Mason Wynn, Matt Wallner, Grant Holmes, Seth Halverson. 2 quick questions here before we go. 1, what's your favorite pick that you made this whole draft?
Wasn't Jung-Hoo Lee. That's for sure.
You've preempted question number 2.
Yeah. I already want to just drop him right now. I just want to set my fab for week 1 and put him and drop him. But I don't know. It's tough to have a favorite pick. I mean, it really went according to plan for the first 12 rounds. And I think where I really started to pivot was with the Connor Griffin pick in round 12. I think rounds 13 through 20 were very much in line with what I had planned out. And then the last rounds are just ones that I'm expecting to churn at some point. So I'm not super worried about, who I'm picking there, but I just tried to go old and boring because sometimes that's what wins, and playing time is key. So that's kind of what I went with in terms of my post round 20 picks.
All right, I was going to ask you who your least favorite pick is, but we know that that's Jung-Hoo Lee. So instead, the final question, Ryan, grade your draft compared to expectations. Is this a solid A or at least a good B plus? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, B plus. I mean, I have to go back and see kind of plug these guys in and see where I'm at, in terms of, projections and projected categories and relative to the 80 to 90th percentiles that you need to compete in an online championship format. So I'll go back and do that and we'll see where I'm at. But I think overall I'm a little bit shy on maybe steals. I'm really counting on Justin Crawford, Connor Griffin, 2 rookies who haven't played in the bigs yet and as big contributors in that category. So if neither are up early, it's going to be really hard to pace yourself in that category. So I'll probably have to look out for that. But Mason Wynn could be a sleeper in the speed department. I know at one point last year, during draft season, he said he wanted to steal 50 bases, but who knows if he even has that upside. But yeah, I think speed is where I'm going to be pretty deficient, and then I'll have to monitor average. But I try to prioritize power where I could. And picks like Adele, Taylor Ward, lower batting average, but 30 plus homers. Jake Berger could get back to that level too, with 25, 30 homer upside. So I think this mostly went according to plan and starting pitcher heavy early and kind of just filled it out from there.
Yeah, I think it's a nice, solid, well-rounded team. You're not going to get everything you want on the offensive side when you do go that starting pitcher heavy early, but for where you had to pick your hitters, I think you ended up with a nice, well-rounded offense. So fun to see something slightly different here. I hope it works out for you. I'll be following this team throughout the year. This was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot, Ryan, for drafting in front of all of us, and thanks everybody who hung out in the chat.
Thanks for hosting this. This was a lot of fun as always.
Yeah, we should have at least a couple more of these, I hope, throughout the rest of draft season. Code YouTube 15 for 15% off. Come join us over at RotoWire. See you guys in another draft.